Don't just sit back and take it. Fight back. At the Lance Drury Law Firm, we know how to use the laws to your advantage and go toe-to-toe with the IRS. Our office is located right here in St. Louis. Contact the Lance Drury Law Firm today for a free consultation with me, or visit us at lancedrurylaw.com or call 314-260-6120. That's 314-260-6120 to get started.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
If you're trying to sell a home, there's only one agent in town that I trust, Mark and Neil Gelman of eXp Realty. My friends Mark and Neil have the best system, options, and strategies to connect you to the best qualified buyers, getting your home sold fast and for top dollar. Go to thegelmanteam.com.
What a great meeting. I loved everything he said. I think we've found our new financial advisor.
I hated him.
What? Why?
He never even looked at me.
It's a story that's been repeated over and over in the financial industry. And it's the reason Deanna Orff at the All Financial Group is so passionate to change it. She's hosting an exclusive women's event called Women in Wealth. It's an open forum for you to learn more about markets, investing, and planning for retirement, and a setting where you can ask questions. It's a fact that 90% of women will at some point be solely responsible for their finances. This could be a great first step.
Join us for the exclusive Women in Wealth event, Thursday, March 30th. It is free to attend, but you do need to make a reservation. Call 636-230-8824 or visit yourmoneymattersstl.com. Investment advisory services are offered through Brookstone Wealth Advisors, LLC, a registered investment advisor and an affiliate of Brookstone Capital Management, LLC. BWA and All Financial Group, LLC are independent of each other. Stephen All, Missouri license number 803-9738.
Did you know that how happy you are could be related to how well you hear? According to the Better Health Institute, research shows that unaddressed hearing loss is associated with depression. Studies also show that people with hearing loss who use hearing aids often have fewer depressive symptoms, they have greater social engagement, and have improved quality of life. Therefore, having your hearing tested by an experienced audiologist is extremely important. Hi, this is Charlie Brennan. I recommend you contact Dr. Colleen Bosler at the Audiology Center. Dr. Bosler is very approachable. She has a doctorate in audiology from the University of Illinois Champaign-Urbana. She carries the best performing hearing aids, and Dr. Bosler is an expert on the latest technology. Make an appointment today at one of Dr. Colleen Bosler's 3 St. Louis area offices, 636-441-7470, the Audiology Center, STL.com.
Did you know you can get your prescriptions for less at your local pharmacy? You can with GoodRx. It's the free app that can save you money on your medications. Just search for your prescription, choose the pharmacy and the price that works best for you, and then show your GoodRx coupon to your pharmacist at the drop-off counter. GoodRx works at over 70,000 pharmacies, including Walmart, Rite Aid, and Walgreens, and it works whether you have insurance or not. It's easy to save. Next time you drop off your prescription, check GoodRx. To start saving today, go to GoodRx.com. GoodRx is not insurance.
With one of the best savings rates in America, banking with Capital One is the easiest decision in the history of decisions. Even easier than choosing Slash to be in your band.
Next up for lead guitar. You're in.
Cool. Yep, even easier than that. And with no fees or minimums on checking and savings accounts, is it even a decision? That's banking reimagined. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com/bank for details. Capital One NA, member FDIC.
We go where you go. 1120 AM, 98.7 FM, KMOX.com.
Amy Marchkors, Chris Ranji, the show on KMOX. As we talked about during the last segment, the Missouri House of Representatives has voted 113-40 to move ahead with their plans for the state to take over control of the St. Louis City Police Department. And obviously, there is a lot of support for that in the state. Currently, there is not support for that as far as the mayor, Tashara Jones, is concerned. Here is her statement on this. She says, voters across Missouri overwhelmingly approved the 2012 ballot measure granting St. Louisans control over our own police department for the first time since the Civil War. This bill reverses the will of the voters. Instead of focusing on measures that would actually make our communities safer, investments in left-behind communities, common sense gun safety laws, certain Jefferson City Republicans are working overtime to turn back the clock to the 1800s. This isn't about improving public safety. It's about power and politics. Mayor Jones will continue working to address root causes of crime in our communities while holding those who do commit crime accountable for their actions. That is the end of the statement.
And I will just note, in case you are wondering, what would Mayor Jones's role be once the state took over the police department? It would place the mayor on a 5-member board of police commissioners, and then there would be the other 4 members would be gubernatorial appointees. So they'd be appointed by Governor Parson, and that appointment would need to be confirmed by the Senate. I mean, here's the thing. I don't buy any of her statement. I don't at all. It's not about power. I mean, it's about crime. It is, because it's bringing down the whole area. The whole state is suffering because you can't have, as Michael Calhoun said, you can't have a city that operates as a donut. You can't have the nothing in the middle, and then all the surrounding areas are what generate income. You need a thriving downtown, and crime is historically high. It's been bad before, and we're reaching those numbers where you're looking at the top 3-4 worst years in city history. That's where we're at right now. And then to continue the statement, when it says that Mayor Jones will continue to address root causes of crime, okay, while holding those who do commit crime accountable for their actions, that's not happening. That's the whole conversation over the past couple of weeks. First, it's not really her job. I don't know how much power she has to put criminals in jail. It's the circuit attorney's job.
Who she does not appoint.
Right. It's the prosecuting attorneys and that entire office. It's having enough police officers to catch criminals. But the mayor herself, she's not only is she not holding those who commit crime accountable for their actions, I don't know what power she has to do that realistically. It's not happening in the city. That's what the conversation is. And that's why we're pointing our finger at Kim Gardner. She actually does have some power to hold criminals accountable.
But you do agree that some of the common sense gun safety laws and the investments in left behind communities is also part of the problem, right?
I do.
Yeah. So
I absolutely do.
So that part of her statement, I agree with. And I really am not sure I'm comfortable with the city not controlling its own police department. I don't know if I'm comfortable with that.
I mean, it didn't until 2012.
Right. And I think there's a reason that it shouldn't, that it should be theirs. Because if you live in the city, you kind of want to have, if you're a citizen of the city and you're an administration of the city, you want to have control of your own police department. Now,
but don't you think it's important, though, that a couple of the Democrats who voted for this state takeover of the police department, not only are they Democrats, but they're city residents as well, or at least part of the city.
Yeah, and clearly not everybody agrees with them. Rasheed Aldridge does not agree with them. Here's what I feel about this is, if they do this, I want it to be temporary. I don't think this should be a permanent setup. But I don't know. It would have to go up for vote again at some point in the future. It'd have to be on a ballot. There'd have to be some initiative to bring it back to what it was if things do get under control. But I think we have to acknowledge this is not going to be the thing that gets everything under control. It's a little thing. Maybe we're hoping it works. But as I've said before, I feel like a kitchen sink scenario here. We got to throw everything at it to see what we can do to curb the problems we have now. Hopefully this works. I'm rooting for it. I'm just not confident it's going to do everything we think it's going to do. Amy Marks Kors and Chris Ranji, you've got the show on KMOX.
According to Forbes, 96% of Americans, 96%, lose an average of $111,000 in Social Security income. Learn how you can avoid this in a one-night adult education class. Retirement Planning 101, held at colleges and universities throughout Greater St. Louis. In just 3 hours, you'll benefit from decades of financial planning experience about Social Security, taxes, healthcare and Medicare, investing for income, and so much more. These classes are hosted by financial and tax architects, your retirement professors. If you've saved at least $300,000 for retirement, register now by calling 314-626-8817. You pay zero tuition if you call today. So call 314-626-8817 8817. 314-626-8817.
Back to doing what I love and more. Thanks to the Good Feet Store.
Hi, this is Arnold, owner of the Good Feet Store. Do you have a hard time getting out of bed in the morning because of a sharp pain in your heel?
I did. I had plantar fasciitis. I had a burning sensation on the bottom of my feet. I went to the Good Feet Store, and what a relief. And now I never go without my Good Feet support.
Are your knees and back killing you by the end of the day?
It was getting so severe, I almost stopped walking. I have no problems with my knees now. I couldn't believe how fast it helped me.
You deserve a better life too. Come to the Good Feet Store today.
Call 314-317-9494 or visit one of our 2 locations on Olive west of I-270 in the plaza with Subway, or in Shiloh, Illinois across from Dearborg's.
Thanks to the Good Feet Store.
Individual results may vary. Consult your physician for medical conditions. Visit the website goodfeetstlewis.com. Pain relief and comfort to fit any budget. Come in for a free test walk today. Good Feet products are proudly made in the USA.
Black History Month has officially begun. But if you're looking for uplifting Black stories year-round, check out my podcast, Beyond Black History Month. I'm Fami Redwood, and with this year being the 50th anniversary of hip-hop, there will be lots of stories with all the icons.
Hip-hop was something that was just the most creative thing ever because it was just born really out of nothing.
Listen and subscribe to Beyond Black History Month on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcast from.
At 10:30, cloudy skies and 43 degrees downtown at the Arch. I'm Carol Daniel. The Federal Reserve could increase the size of its interest rate hikes and raise borrowing costs to higher levels than previously projected if evidence continues to point to a robust economy. Fed Chair Jerome Powell said before a Senate panel today, raising interest rates again would be determined by the data collected.
We're well aware this particular situation involves a mix of forces, not all of which our tools can affect, but there is a job here for us to do in better aligning demand with supply.
A Mexican official says 2 U.S. citizens missing since their violent abduction last week in the northern Mexico border city of Matamoros have been found dead. 2 others have been found alive, 1 wounded. A relative of one of them said Monday that the group had traveled together from South Carolina so one of them could get a tummy tuck from a doctor in the border city. A nuclear power plant in Georgia has begun splitting atoms in one of its 2 new reactors. Georgia Power Company announcing the key step toward reaching commercial operation. The utility and other owners are building the first 2 nuclear reactors constructed from scratch in the U.S. in decades. Pacific Fire Protection firefighters rescued a man and his son from floodwaters Monday morning. Highway Patrol Corporal Dallas Thompson telling our partners at Fox 2 the driver made a bad decision.
We had a vehicle that drove around a barricade trying to block the roadway from some flooded roads. The vehicle proceeded through the flooded waters and became disabled.
The 2 are okay. Thompson says floodwaters are starting to recede, but drivers should never try to travel on flooded roads because it just takes less than a foot of water to get stranded. They're still working that crash 55 northbound past Broadway. It's on the right shoulder, cleaning up debris 44 eastbound to Vandermeer Avenue. Be prepared to stop there. And there is a crash still 270 southbound at 64. It's now on the right shoulder, so all those lanes have been reopened. And the KMOX forecast is sponsored by Cotton's Ace Hardware. Partly sunny, chillier today, the high 53. A couple of showers late tonight with plenty of cloud cover. Overnight low 36. Right now it's 43 degrees, cloudy skies. It feels like 37 downtown at the Arch. When it comes to finding the perfect grill, family-owned Cotton's Ace Hardware has the best in name brands from Weber, Traeger to the Big Green Egg. Free delivery and fuel on any grills over $300. Free assembly and free haul away of your old grill. Find your nearest location at cottonsacehardware.com. I'm Carol Daniel, KMOX News.
Broadcasting from the Underline Three Lawyers, GetJim.com studios.
KMOX.
Charlie Brennan sees clearly thanks to Dr. Birdie and Malhotra. You can too. Go to youridoc.com today. or call 314-966-5000. Spark Co-working St. Louis is a new collaborative workspace located within the PwC Pennant Building in Ballpark Village. The Spark Co-working community supports the thriving St. Louis entrepreneurial ecosystem, where you can live, work, and watch the Cardinals play all within one district. The all-inclusive workspace includes furnished month-to-month offices and suites with stadium, city, and arch views, concierge mail service, nitro cold brew coffee on tap, and so much more. Call 314-278-5297 or visit spark-stl.com.
Hi, it's Matt Pauley. I'm in Jupiter, Florida, covering Cardinals spring training. Stay up to date with my reports from Redbirds Camp, mornings and afternoons, and Sports Open Line weeknights from the T.R. Hughes Homes Broadcast Center.
Spring training coverage, sponsored in part by Wilkie Window and Door, on your home of the Cardinals, KMOX.
It's the show on KMOX. I'm looking at Amy Mark's scores.
Yep.
I'm Chris Ranji. She's not looking at me. I don't know why. I'm handsome. A recent poll done by Remington Research Group. In fact, it was a poll conducted last week of about 500 St. Louis residents, likely 2024 general election voters. 66% of them said they disapprove of Kim Gardner's job performance as the circuit attorney here in St. Louis. To talk about how that office is operating and whether or not it is underwater, as it appears to be, Peter Joy is a Henry Hitchcock Professor of Law, Director of the Criminal Justice Clinic at Washington University. And Peter Joy joins us this morning on KMOX. We thank you for being with us, Peter. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. I hope you are too.
We are doing well. I think we want better for the city. So I know you don't work in the office, but based on the numbers you have seen, how much different is this circuit attorney's office in terms of job performance compared to maybe some other similar sized cities?
Well, I don't know if I could really speak about job performance, but what I can say is that the office is really short of the number of prosecutors that they need for the caseload that they have and the types of cases that they have.
Right. The U.S. Department of Justice issued a study in 2002 that said a prosecutor can handle 20 homicide cases a year with no other assignments. That's generally what a prosecutor can successfully handle. But in St. Louis, you have a single prosecutor handling 45 open murder cases or manslaughter cases, plus 60 other mostly violent felonies. So that is a long way past the 20 homicide cases with no other assignments. Can you put into perspective the type of workload that is for a prosecutor, and if it is even possible for that prosecutor to handle that number of cases?
Well, it's not possible to handle all those cases well, and the reason is, and I'm very familiar with the study that you're referring to. When you take the number of available hours a prosecutor would have, and the type of work and the amount of work that you need on a typical homicide case, it comes out to 20. Then you add those other cases, and the concern you have is that the only way the work could be done properly is by having really long waits between trials, and perhaps also, especially on a large number of those cases, having them be dismissed once and then refiled to buy more time. And meanwhile, a continual backlog of cases builds up as you try to stretch out the amount of time you need to handle the cases properly.
So when the manpower is being stretched out like it is, there clearly has to be a negative effect on the quality of work that's being done on each individual case, right?
Well, I think that's a logical conclusion, but like I said, for some period of time, a prosecutor with a heavy caseload like that might be able to try spreading the work out over a longer period of time. So say, take some of the other violent felonies, instead of it being resolved within 9 months to a year or 14 months, it might take 2 or 3 years. And if you have somebody in jail awaiting trial, that's adding months and months, especially if ultimately the person's found not guilty. And meanwhile, it's also adding months and months to the wait time, either for a victim or the family of a victim. And it also increases the possibility that essential witnesses, might die, might move away and not be able to be found.
When you look at the success rate or the clearance rates of a circuit attorney's office, how important is cumulative experience of the staff? For context, when Kim Gardner took office in 2017, or right before she took office in 2017, there were 58 prosecutors with 500 years of experience, over 500 years of experience. Now there are 30 prosecutors, and all of those are new, over 100% turnover rate. Almost all of them are new, I should say, with 130 years cumulative experience. So the years of experience on her staff has dropped drastically. How significant is that?
Well, more experienced prosecutors are often able to resolve cases with less amount of time. They're also able to spot cases that have serious problems. And maybe the case shouldn't have been filed or should have been charged differently. And they're also typically better at working with police and other witnesses that they need for their cases. So just like anything else, the more experience a prosecutor has, quite often, the more effective they are over using a shorter amount of their effort to end up getting results that are as good or better than somebody with less experience.
Is there anything unique about the St. Louis, the city of St. Louis, the demographics of it, the economics of it, that make it more challenging for a prosecutor's office here, whether it's about being understaffed or anything else? Is there a special challenge here with this city?
Well, I wouldn't single out St. Louis, but I would say that there are special challenges to cities like St. Louis. So Milwaukee has the same types of challenges. And, I could name other cities where you have a higher distrust of the police. You have historically high crime rates, and you have a city that has a lot of the results of segregation and issues of institutional racism. So you put all of those ingredients together in any city, and it's going to be challenging for law enforcement, both for the police and the prosecution. And it's challenging when cases go to trial.
What effect does an ineffective circuit attorney's office, like if the people know, if the community knows that the prosecuting attorney is not really prosecuting as many cases as she could or should be doing, does that have any effect on witness cooperation, on people wanting to help give information about crimes, or does it further the divide?
I don't know the answer to that. I do know what is most important in terms of witness cooperation is their faith in the police department and also their own experiences with crime. So you have witnesses who either are sometimes distrustful of the police, so they don't want to cooperate, or they're fearful that if they do cooperate, that they then might be targeted by the persons who ultimately get charged or the friends and families of those persons. So it's a question of overall safety. I think it's probably easy to say, and I think true, that overall the safer a jurisdiction is, the more likely it is that individual witnesses will be cooperating.
What about the effect on police themselves because I've heard stories, and we actually hear it quite a bit, that some police on occasions don't even bother to go after a particular offense, whether it's low level or what, because they just don't think it's going to get prosecuted. So can it have realistic effects on a police department if they don't think the circuit attorney will do its job?
I mean, the answer to that is I think yes, but also I do want to mention that several years ago, at least 3 or maybe 4 circuit attorneys before Kim Gardner, I remember talking with a prosecutor in St. Louis County who had his car stolen in the city of St. Louis. The vehicle was recovered, and he was told that they identified the person who was driving the vehicle, which itself would be a crime, even if that wasn't the person who charged it. Months went by, he hadn't heard anything. He looked into it, and he found that although he indicated to police that he wanted to prosecute it, that the police officer said, witness not, or victim not interested in prosecuting. Now, he was a prosecutor. He was able to get that case revived. But there, totally different circuit attorney's office, one with lots of prosecutors with the experience. And what the county prosecutor heard was it was just this individual police officer's decision. Now, so I'm pointing that out that I think that there are some problems with police making decisions about what they want to charge or not charge that have, historical problems in the city of St. Louis.
We're speaking with Professor Peter Joy, Henry Hitchcock Professor of Law and Director of the Criminal Justice Clinic at Washington University. Well, we were talking earlier about the potential state takeover of the St. Louis Police Department, returning the police department back to the state after the decade of local control of the police department. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, the voters voted to return control to the police department, to the city, and now the state legislature is overruling the will of the people. Personally, from my point of view, government that does that ignores what the local individuals and people affected want, I'm very suspicious of that. It seems to me that in Jefferson City, the state government is more willing to take away local control, whether it be to the city of St. Louis, and then who knows what next jurisdiction will be targeted.
What does it mean in practicality? What could happen once the state takes over? What could we expect as far as them exerting their control?
That I'm not sure of. It was somewhat unclear to me prior when the state did have control. I've heard allegations that now with the city having control that there may be more political interference, and then the hope would be there would be less if the state takes over. But it's unclear to me if the state takes over, if the members on the board that the governor appoints, if they might not also have political agendas to grind. So I think we will just have to wait and see if it would make any difference in the crime rate, because that's what we're all concerned about. We want a lower crime rate where we live, and we want people who commit the crimes to pay for the crimes that they've committed.
Should there be and I've made this point that maybe we should take an approach that's we throw everything at it. And I know this is not a unique problem to St. Louis only. There are a lot of cities around the country whose crime rates have gone up over the last couple of years. It's not exclusive to us. But should we take that approach to do anything possible just to see if it works? Or could that be a dangerous idea?
Well, I think it's dangerous if you take a look at, for example, in New York City, there was a period of time when they were throwing everything at it. And as a result, there were many, many people who were wrongfully convicted, and the city's been paying out millions of dollars. Police were doing a lot of racial profiling. I think, if you say throw everything at it and see what works, if what we're throwing at it is something that is free from issues such as racial profiling and cutting corners, then maybe that could be a pathway to something more effective. But if we try to replicate what some cities have done that have led them into paying millions and millions of dollars to people who were wrongfully incarcerated, I think that would be a really dangerous and bad idea, because we should not be in favor of innocent people spending even a day in jail.
Peter Joy, Henry Hitchcock Professor of Law, Director of the Criminal Justice Clinic at Washington University. We appreciate your time today. Thank you for being with us.
Okay, thank you, and goodbye.
That is Peter Joy with us here on KMOX. If you want to weigh in, you can. 314-436-7900. It's Amy Markscores. I'm Chris Ranji on KMOX, and she has a thing to tell you.
I do have a thing to tell you, and it is one of my favorite things in the whole world, and that is running. Okay, I know you may be thinking you don't really want to run right now, but if you're trying to get back into the swing of things, I've got just the motivational event for you, and that is the 10th annual St. Louis Work Zone Awareness 5K and 1 mile fun run. Yesterday was so gorgeous. The weather is starting to turn. It's a great time to get outside. And not only can you work towards this 5K and 1 mile fun run, but you can also know that all the money raised for this 5K will support families of workers who have lost their lives in work zones. Yep, when the weather starts to change, you see the flowers alongside the road. You also see road construction. And it can be easy to get frustrated or to be distracted with our phones and other things that we're doing. Let's raise awareness for work zone safety. Let's pay attention, slow down, and put our phones down when driving so that everyone can go home safely. The MoDOT workers are making sure our roads are safer so you and I can get back home to our families. Let's make sure they can go back home to theirs. It's the 10th annual St. Louis Work Zone Awareness 5K. It's April 15th in Chesterfield. To sign up, just Google STL Work Zone Run 2023.
Every homeowner needs a good electrician, and Reinhold Electric is that electrician. If you're having power outages during spring storms, call on Reinhold Electric and talk to them about an inline generator. If you're selling a home, they do electrical inspections. And check this out. Insurance companies more and more are changing policies to not include aluminum wiring. So if your home or condo has that and you need help with aluminum wiring, call on Reinhold Electric. 314-631-1158, online at ReinholdElectric.com. Tell them Bo sent you.
Even in these uncertain times, Missouri lawyers are here to help. If your income has been impacted by the current global crisis, or if you qualify as a low-income household, you can have your legal questions answered for free at missouri.freelegalanswers.org. You can ask up to 5 questions, and they'll be answered by a lawyer licensed in Missouri at no cost to you. Missouri lawyers want you to know you are not alone. Get free answers to your legal questions at missouri.freelegalanswers.org. Brought to you by the Missouri Bar.
Hi, it's Tom Ackerman for Ophthalmology Associates, 314-966-5000, 12990 Manchester Road, just a half mile west of 270. I was there this year for my annual eye health examination, and I'm so happy that I did. Not only is my vision in good shape, but now I have peace of mind that I have good health. You see, an eye health examination can detect many health issues like diabetes or high blood pressure. So it's nice to know that they were able to check me over. Also, it was covered by my medical insurance, and I did not realize that the first time that I went for an annual eye exam. So that's terrific. Doctors Greg Birdie, Ranjan Malhotra, Robert Brusati, and Andrew Royer, very thankful for them. Ophthalmology Associates, the doctors, 314-966-5000. You should also schedule your eye exam and reach out to them. And when you do, tell them that Tom Ackerman sent you to Ophthalmology Associates. Also online at youridoc.com.
Prepare an emergency kit, sign up for local alerts, and make a family communications plan. Get started today at ready.gov/plan. A public service message brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Amy Markscores. Fabulous. Chris Ranji. Unbelievable. On the show.
Did you see that thing? I can't believe it. Something is obviously wrong.
This is a joke, right?
Oh my God. Are you freaking kidding me? No way.
You gotta be kidding me. Don't feel bad. There's no way you could have known that.
Now, did you see this with Chris and Amy on the show?
Hey, Ranj, did you see this? Japan just found out that it has 7,000 more islands than it thought it had. They've recounted their islands, Ranj, and apparently...
What did they think before?
Well, they thought they had 6,852 islands, but now they counted again, and they have 14,125.
Wait, come on. Wait.
Yeah.
They were 7,000 short?
Yeah.
Well, what counts as an island
Well,
then?
that's a great question.
Just a rock sticking out of the ocean?
So they didn't define, they didn't say, at least in the CNN story, what they counted as an island, but they credited new technology for helping them find all the islands. They used digital mapping by the Geospatial Information Authority of Japan. It found that in Japanese territory, there were 7,000 more islands than the figure they've been using since 1987, which was reported by Japan's Coast Guard. If I'm the Coast Guard, I'm feeling a little sheepish right now.
I mean, that seems like a lot of islands.
What if it was like, okay, Bob, you go that way. Fred, you go that way. I'll go this way. And then one of the guys obviously didn't do his job. Now, what they did stress is that the new figure, again, reflects advances in surveying technology, and it did not change the overall area of land in Japan's possession. And while there's no international agreement on how to count islands, it did use the same size criterion as the previous survey, which they took 35 years ago.
Well, I'll be. I would guess an island, the definition of an island is you have to be able to build a house on it.
It says it needs
One
to be
house.
at least have a circumference of at least 330 feet. That's not
330
big.
feet. Yeah, that's not very big. That's a
Yeah.
football field.
Length, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
A little bit more than a football field. How about that?
I know. I mean, 7,000's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. This whole time I thought Japan was one island. Okay.
So wrong.
So here is one, Amy.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe this has been common knowledge, but I just found this out yesterday.
Okay.
Johnny Cash, I know that back in the 50s, the early 50s, when he was 18 years old, he enlisted in the Air Force.
Mhm.
He was stationed in Landsberg, Germany, West Germany. He was there on a 3-year tour. Do you know that Johnny Cash is the first American who found out about Joseph Stalin's death?
What?
He was the radio operator, and it was reported to him via radio that Stalin was in poor health and he was continually getting updates. And he is the one who received word that Stalin had died. He notified his superiors, who then notified Dwight Eisenhower.
Are you serious?
Yes, this is a real thing. And it was tweeted about yesterday. And Roseanne Cash,
Yep.
who was his oldest daughter, between he and Vivian. If you ever watched the movie Walk the Line, she's the first wife who doesn't like he's never home. And she confirmed it. She said he told us about it growing up many, many times, that he was the first American citizen to find out Joseph Stalin died.
That's incredible.
Isn't it?
He didn't write a song. There's no song that correlates to that, is there?
About Stalin?
Just being the first to find out something significant. I don't think I've been the first to find out anything significant.
Have I? No, I usually just find out that one of my friends scammed people out of money. You know, something like that. Nobody you know, don't worry. Or he might be.
Yeah.
Woo!
Okay.
Anyway,
Amy.
What next? Oh, why don't we talk to Brad Young?
Oh, that sounds great.
Our
Oh,
legal
geez,
expert,
this
Brad
story
Young.
is freaking me out.
Yeah, how about this? Are you ready for it?
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk to Brad Young. That's coming up next on KMOX.
When you come to Diamonds Direct, we know it's always the start of a celebration, an engagement, your wedding day, honoring a lifetime of love, searching for that special birthday gift for the one you love the most, and all the celebrations in between. That's why we've created a shopping experience to match your excitement. You walk into a beautiful showroom with experts eager to help, or if you prefer, just explore on your own as long as you like. At Diamonds Direct, we've taken pressure out of the process. Our experts are cheerful and engaging. We'll help you on your terms with your price range when you're ready. We've made it easy by offering virtually unlimited options, with everything in our showcase being handpicked for its beauty and quality. You can't go wrong. You're guaranteed to get the best value because we are the value leader, and you have confidence knowing you're protected with our lifetime warranties and guarantees. Diamonds Direct's experience is designed with our goal of creating not just a happy experience, but a magical one, so you leave smiling just like you came in. Diamonds Direct, for your best moments in life. Get store hours and directions at diamondsdirect.com.
Are you tired of exposing your retirement to stock market risk? how would you like the potential to participate in credited interest from market index returns and limit the downside? Join me, Ben Coons, for the Retirement and Income Radio Show, heard here every Saturday at 3 p.m. on KMOX Radio. You can also call me now for your complimentary Retirement and Income book at 844-513-SAFE. That's 844-513-7233.
Men suffering from erectile dysfunction or PE, regardless of age or past medical history, you'll see instant results on your first visit at Paramount Men's Medical Center. And for a limited time, your initial consultation and first treatment are totally free. Call now, 314-720-8081.
KMOX, KECK HD2, K254CR St. Louis.
The legendary voice of St. Louis, KMOX. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
Join us at Odyssey as we all do our one thing. Together, millions of things for our planet. March means spring cleaning, so clean out your old, harsh cleaning products and replace them with products that are green certified. Better yet, make your own cleaning products using items like baking soda and vinegar. Also, get rid of hazardous materials such as paints, motor oil, and pharmaceuticals at proper disposal locations to keep them out of the water supply. When we each share our one thing, it becomes 100 things, 1,000 things, 1,000,000 things for our planet. What's your one thing?
There are over 10,000 reasons why steel is not sold at Lowe's or the Home Depot. Find tools for the job site or your own backyard at over 10,000 authorized local steel dealers. Find yours at steelusa.com.
Mid-America's most trusted source for news, KMOX.
At 11 o'clock, we have cloudy skies and 43 degrees downtown at the Arch. I'm Carol Daniel. Mexico's President Andrés Manuel López Obrador giving an update on the American violently kidnapped in Mexico.
De los cuatro, hay dos de ellos fallecidos, una persona herida.
2 have been found dead, 2 others alive. One of the surviving U.S. citizens was wounded. The FBI had reported Sunday that it was searching with Mexican authorities for the missing Americans. A relative of one of them said that the group had traveled together from South Carolina, so one of them could get a tummy tuck from a doctor in the border city of Matamoros. The Federal Reserve could increase the size of its interest rate hikes and raise borrowing costs to higher levels than previously projected if evidence continues to point to a robust economy. Fed Chair Jerome Powell said before a Senate panel today, rising interest rates would be determined by the data collected.
We're well aware this particular situation involves a mix of forces, not all of which our tools can affect, but there is a job here for us to do in better aligning demand with supply.
KMOX News Time is 11:01. The Justice Department, along with Massachusetts, New York, and D.C., today announced it has filed an antitrust lawsuit to block JetBlue's proposed merger with Spirit Airlines. In October, shareholders of the low-cost carrier voted to accept JetBlue's $3.8 billion buyout offer. Attorney General Merrick Garland, in a statement, explained why the Department of Justice decided this was the best course of action.
Our complaint alleges that JetBlue's proposed $3.8 billion acquisition of Spirit violates Section 7 of the Clayton Act. We allege that if allowed to proceed, this merger will limit choices and drive up ticket prices.
The population of St. Louis has continued to decline over the decades, but it's getting near a danger point if it drops below 300,000 residents.
Well, because the city of St. Louis is a city and county, our population determines the funding that we get, whether it's from a federal level or from a state level.
Neil Richardson is the president and CEO of the St. Louis Development Corporation. He says there are areas of the city where population is growing, but according to the last census, St. Louis City lost 27,000 Black residents, mostly, Richardson says, professionals and those in the middle-class tax bracket. The KMOX Business Desk, the 14th Annual Green Business Challenge, is Thursday afternoon at Cortex. Gene Ponzi says businesses challenge themselves to be greener.
So in a sense, the challenge is Green Boot Camp for businesses looking to integrate sustainability into policy, into practice, into workplace culture. The participation of companies in the St. Louis region really helps our businesses be more competitive.
More than 260 companies have taken part, big names like Ameren, Graybar, and the Cardinals, as well as nonprofits, including the St. Louis Zoo and the Science Center. She says it's an expectation now that companies will focus on things like energy efficiency, biodiversity, recycling, and green transit. The Dow is down 399 points at 33,031. Watch for a stalled vehicle 270 westbound at McDonald Boulevard. It is on the right shoulder, and they're working a crash 55 northbound past Broadway on the right shoulder. Could be cleared out in a couple of minutes. There is a stall 270 eastbound before 367. And the KMOX forecast sponsored by Champion Floors.
No question, temperatures are cooler, but still for March, not too bad. 52 for the high this afternoon. More and more clouds taking over, but compared to yesterday, it's a cool day. Tonight, cloudy skies, rain developing primarily after midnight. Windy and a chilly 38. Wednesday, clouds, morning rain, and some sloppy wet snowflakes mixing in. Windy and a chilly 48 degrees. Another batch of rain coming in very, very late Wednesday night, and rain will be with us Thursday into Thursday night. Kind of unsettled across the area after today. I'm meteorologist Dave Murray for the Voice of St. Louis, KMOX.
Cloudy skies, 44 degrees in St. Peter's, 45 in Florissant, and it's cloudy 44. It feels like 38 degrees downtown at the Arch. I'm Carol Daniel, KMOX News.
Champion Floor Company is known for their customer service. It's a big reason why they've been serving the community for 34 years. If you're looking to replace your flooring, schedule an appointment at championfloor.com. Champion Floor, delivering excellence every day.
The show, sponsored by the Cardinals. Cardinal tickets for 2023 are on sale now and start at just $6. Info at cardinals.com.
Amy March scores, Chris Ranji on the show. It's KMOX. Hour 2's happening. Dave Glover comes up in 1. And of course, we're part of that crossover hour with Dave from 1 until 2. An interesting story saw last week. A Southern California couple is suing a fertility clinic for fraudulent concealment because they are claiming that they were mistakenly transferred an embryo that is carrying a rare stomach cancer gene. And then they went back and falsified the patient records in order to cover it up. So they are arguing that their child faces the possibility of stomach cancer and possible stomach surgery in order to curb that. So to talk about the legality of this issue, Brad Young is our legal attorney. He is with Harris, Dowell, Fisher, and Young, and he joins us now on KMOX. Good morning, Brad.
Chris, good morning. Great to talk to you.
Great to talk to you, too. So you heard this story. What are your thoughts right off the top?
Well, it's interesting. Anytime you have a legal action, it's not just the law that's involved. There are public relations. There are issues involving the continued business practice of the defendant about whether they're going to suffer a business loss because of the lawsuit. And what's interesting about this case, Chris, is that it encompasses elements of contract law, it encompasses elements of medical malpractice law, and it also encompasses public relations issues because the company involved is a very high-end fertility clinic in Southern California, and this will obviously have an impact on their business model moving forward. So when you put all that in a blender, what comes out is a complex yet interesting issue that really I've never seen before.
Yeah, I had to read the story a couple of times actually, and just to set the table so people kind of understand what's happening. This couple, they sought out in vitro fertilization and then genetic testing for those embryos before they moved forward with a pregnancy. The mother, Melissa, she has a genetic mutation that makes her prone to breast cancer and ovarian cancer. Her husband, Jason, has a rare mutation that predisposes him to stomach cancer. And he actually did get stomach cancer when he was 32. He underwent surgery to have the stomach cancer removed and chemotherapy, and he's okay. So when they decided to start a family, they had their embryos tested before they moved forward. The couple's first embryo transfer was free of both genetic mutations. However, the pregnancy ended in a miscarriage. And it was in this second one, they opted to move forward again with a second embryo transfer, and they had a baby boy. And it wasn't until later that they discovered that the stomach cancer gene was indeed in that embryo, which was the whole reason why they did IVF in the first place, was to avoid that.
Right. So now you have a situation where you've got a small child, an infant really, who has these genetic markers for both the BRCA1 gene for breast cancer and also the CDH1 gene for stomach cancer. Now, the BRCA1 isn't that big of a deal because that condition doesn't typically arise in males, but yet the CDH1 gene is awful here because the treatment is removal of the stomach. And so the parents can't do that now because if a child at this age, an infant, has their stomach removed, that obviously impacts the physical and more importantly, the cognitive development of a child. So they can't do that. So really what this reminds me of is the cases of wrongful birth where doctors are sued when they perform a vasectomy and the male ends up procreating. And at that point, there's a actual cause of action for wrongful birth, which sounds odd because we're used to hearing wrongful death. And yet in this instance, this is kind of similar to that, but it also involves, as I mentioned, malpractice, and it also involves breach of contract because according to the published reports, the clinic promised that we can ensure that those two genetic markers are not passed on to your child. And yet that is exactly what happened here.
So it's really an interesting case because just because this gene is present does not necessarily mean that a person is going to develop the cancer that is predisposed to it. Just means the risk of it is increased. So is there legal standing to sue somebody on the possibility that something bad down the road might happen?
Well, that's a great question. And in many instances, the answer would be that's speculative. But in this instance, at least according to published studies, that CDH1 gene that causes stomach cancer, if you have that genetic marker, the person statistically has an 80% chance of developing that cancer. And the only way to prevent that from happening is that stomach removal surgery. So while in many instances, just the chance of getting something probably would be too speculative to be a cause of action, that 80% chance is so high that I think that threshold can easily be met.
I'm a little confused by the statement that was issued by the fertility clinic. They said, "We deeply empathize with this family's situation. However, the patients associated with the case sought genetic testing and genetic counseling outside of HRC Fertility and with an outside party. They wish to have a male embryo transferred, which we carried out according to the family's explicit wishes and in accordance with the highest level of care." Then the statement kind of goes on to talk about their professionalism, but that part about them, the patients associated with the case sought genetic testing and counseling outside of the fertility clinic, but they still have the procedure at that fertility clinic. What are they talking about there?
I think what they're talking about is after the event, because once the child was born, the couple went and got genetic testing at another facility because obviously they had very valid grounds to say, we don't trust this defendant fertility clinic. We want to go get an outside independent medical opinion on the genetic status of our newborn son. And I think that's really what they're talking about. But still, the PR statement goes on to say that we provided everything that this couple asked for and wanted. And that's damaging even from a legal perspective, because that is certainly not the case. The parents specifically asked for embryos that were free of those two genes, and they got the exact opposite. So that's an instance where a PR statement, they're trying to be to emotionally connect, obviously, with the public. But in this instance, that PR move could come back to hurt them legally, because that's an admission by a party that is patently false, at least according to the plaintiffs here. That's just patently false. So and also, Chris, in the lead up to the story, you mentioned this, I believe, that once the mother received the medical records, the clinic staff had whited out evidence of their error. Well, there is nothing that a jury will punish you more for in a case like this than hiding what you know to be wrong. So it would clearly would have been better for them legally to have evidence of the errors being in the medical records, because once you take an affirmative act to hide that error, you're number one, admitting that you did something wrong, and number two, you're covering it up. And those are the kinds of actions that lead to punitive damages.
What happens in the case of, and this is very specific because they're talking about health concerns down the road, but what if a couple, a man donates a sperm and they try to do the in vitro fertilization and they accidentally put in somebody else's, but it's not known until much later when the child has like darker skin. There's a case from 2004 where this happened, where they didn't know about it until they thought after a while, hey, something may not be right here. This may not be my husband's sperm that was put in. So what happens in a case like that when it's not determined until much, much later there was an error made?
Well, number one, those cases settle because, and that's why this case will eventually settle. And I can promise you that, because two reasons. Number one, doctors, generally speaking, are required to have extremely high insurance coverage requirements. And in this kind of a case where you've got in vitro fertilization, IVF, they're going to have even higher levels of insurance coverage because of the possibility of situations just like this, or a mishap down at the lab when it comes to mixing up the soup there in the in vitro test tube. So in this instance, these cases generally settle because the companies don't want to go to trial, because at trial a jury would hit them and hit them hard with punitive damages, and we're trying to avoid that. So typically what we see is these cases get a lot of publicity at the very beginning of the case, and then they settle because the defendant simply can't withstand the storm of moving to trial, both from a financial standpoint and also from a continued business model standpoint. They have to settle.
We're speaking with Brad Young, attorney at Harris-Dell Fisher and Young. Brad, can I pivot completely to a totally different topic?
Sure.
Tell her no. Say no.
No, I'm not going to tell her no.
Okay.
Whatever Amy wants, Amy gets.
Wow. Come on, Brad.
Thanks, Brad. Okay, well, we were talking earlier about the potential state takeover of the St. Louis City Police Department. So it's been 10 years, as people know, since there's been local control of the city police department. Now it looks like we're well on our way to state control. What are there any legal ramifications of that we should look to? Is there a way the city pushes back? Is there more power that the state has regarding the police department once they do that takeover? What are the legal angles of this that we should be aware of?
Well, the first thing, Amy, we need to understand is the historical context. Going back to the Civil War, the state of Missouri controlled the police department in the city of St. Louis as an aftermath of the Civil War. So there are literally more than a century of history of the state controlling the police department. That was just rescinded by a vote of the populace here in Missouri in 2012. And so we've had 10 years of this experiment of local control. And by any measure, whatever metric you want to use, pick one. Number of crimes solved, number of police that are on the beat, the effectiveness, the response time of the police department, any metric you want to choose, the police department has gone down over the past 10 years once local control was returned. Now, I think your specific question is, what are the legal ramifications? And the city, at least in theory, could challenge this because it was done by a vote of the people in Missouri going back to 2012. But at least contextually, the state had that power before, and I would have to review the exact language of that ballot initiative to see if it stripped the state of Missouri from exercising any control in the future. So that's going to be the unknown question. But clearly it's needed. The police would receive an immediate pay boost. Yeah, I think it would benefit the city of St. Louis with regard to their number one issue in the city, which is crime.
Do you think it's a bad precedent to set, though, to tell a city, hey, you know, your people voted for this thing, and now as a state, we're going to take this away from you and take that power away from you and your voice?
I don't think it is, Chris, and here's why. At the top of the hour, I believe Carol Daniel was reading the news, and one of the news stories that she covered was the flight of middle or higher income African Americans out of the city. That was primarily the income brackets of people who were leaving, and that tells you they were leaving for a reason, and they're leaving probably because of crime, and that is the number one issue. And when you talk to the people who are left, we've all seen interview after interview of individuals who say the crime is horrific, the crime is terrible. If we had the financial resources to leave, we would, but we don't. And so anything at this point that's going to improve the fighting of crime, improve or make headway towards this number one issue in the city, anything it takes, I think, is going to be welcomed by the city of St. Louis.
Yeah, that story was about middle class African Americans who are leaving the city, and the region as a whole is shrinking. Though they're gaining population out west, the entire area is shrinking. So it's we clearly have some problems in the St. Louis area. Brad Young, we appreciate your time. Thanks for visiting with us today.
Hey, my pleasure. And clearly you've got a solution, because I left you a coffee mug when I filled in for you last time.
The coffee mug. Thank you for the coffee mug. The Harris Dowell Fisher and Young coffee mug is in my possession.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Enjoy it. And of course, all coffee drank from that mug is as smooth as silk.
Oh, good. Then it can improve our coffee here.
Yes.
at
Oh,
Odyssey.
absolutely. 100%.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brad.
My pleasure.
That's Brad Young. Harris Dowell Fisher and Young. He is our legal expert at KMOX. That's Amy Marks Kors. I'm Chris Ranji. You've got the show.
2 ways to listen to KMOX in your car. 98.7 in the city, 1120 a.m. further out. The voice of St. Louis, KMOX.
Tom Ackerman for Building Community with Busey Bank, a podcast series easily accessible at KMOX.com/community banking. Our goal to bring awareness to local organizations and share how they're bettering our community. Pat Buring, market president of Busey Bank, and I welcomed Opal Jones, president and CEO of Doorways, the nonprofit helping people who face homelessness, to talk about their $40 million expansion. Listen to Building Community with Busey Bank at KMOX.com/community banking.
Hey guys, Glover here for my friends Mark and Neil Gelman from the GelmanTeam.com. If you want immediate cash for your home or to see what your home is actually worth in today's market, find out for free from the local experts. That's my friends Mark and Neil Gelman at the GelmanTeam.com.
Did you know the IRS is a super creditor? Hi, I'm Lance Drury with the Lance Drury Law Firm. The IRS is the only creditor that can create a bill for you without your permission, then drop the hammer and aggressively collect it by wiping out your bank account, seizing your assets, and levying your wages. No other creditor can do that, and this can all happen without a court approval. If you owe back taxes, you need to be prepared to face the super creditor. Don't just sit back and take it. Fight back. At the Lance Drury Law Firm, we know how to use the laws to your advantage and go toe-to-toe with the IRS. Our office is located right here in St. Louis. Contact the Lance Drury Law Firm today for a free consultation with me, or visit us at lancedrurylaw.com or call 314-260-6120. That's 314-260-6120 to get started.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
What if you ordered a pizza, but when you opened the box, a couple pieces were missing? That would be upsetting, right? Now think about how much money you believe you have saved for retirement. Do you still owe taxes on that money? If you do, that could take a big bite out of your nest egg. Ken and Lori Heisey and their team at Heisey Advisory Group understand the importance of tax planning and can help reduce the impact that Uncle Sam has on your retirement. Give them a call today to start working on your retirement tax plan. 314-328-4400. That's 314-328-4400. Now may be a great time to lower your future tax liability. Create a retirement plan today so that you can get as many slices of your retirement pie as possible. Call Ken and Lori Heisey at Heisey Advisory Group at 314-328-4400 today and schedule your visit. That's 314-328-4400. Firm cannot give tax advice. Investment advisory products and services made available through AE Wealth Management, LLC, a registered investment advisor, and Pine Ridge Advisors, LLC, a registered investment advisor. AEWM and Pine Ridge Advisors, LLC are not affiliated companies.
The voice of St. Louis. News that matters to you. KMOX.
So this is the craziest thing.
What is?
You know the EAS tests that we do occasionally on the station. And in fact, I believe it might still be this way. If not, it was up until this past year. That KMOX, our EAS test, was the test that everyone in the area used. I think TV stations, everything. We were it. And that's the...
They still have it.
Yeah. That's
Remember
that one.
when we were supposed to do one last week and we offered the, just to let us do it?
Oh, yeah. Like, why don't we do it live?
Yeah. Like you and me, we'll just go,
Yeah. Like they have recorded commercials.
Yeah.
And they have live commercials. Why can't we be a
Do
live
a live EAS. Great.
Yeah.
Great question.
So we got a work email. I don't always read work emails, especially if they're from corporate.
No.
So I very rarely. So really, it's fortuitous that I happened to open this one.
The one we always get is the Michael Buffer one.
We do get that one. Now you're not allowed to say that you're going to get ready to do something.
Yeah. And you know, the boxing ring announcer guy,
Yeah.
that thing is trademarked
You
or
can't get ready to
copyrighted.
do it.
Can't remember which.
Yeah.
It's whatever. You can't say it or he will sue
He
you.
makes 6 digits a year suing radio stations
What a doofus.
that say that phrase or anything that rhymes with it.
Yeah.
And once a quarter, we get an email saying, don't say this.
Yep.
Well, I opened this email because the heading was the misuse of the EAS tone. And I thought, well, that's interesting. How are people misusing the emergency alert system? Are they playing it for fun? Are they pretending there's an emergency?
It is a banger.
So it
I
is
like
great.
listening to it.
So in 2020, the FCC fined multiple broadcasters, including Jimmy Kimmel on ABC. They sued ABC. They sued CBS because Young Sheldon did it. And they sued AMC because The Walking Dead did it. They did what? They misused the EAS tone, which means they somehow played it in their shows. So let's say on The Walking Dead, you have the actors in the foreground, and in the background, there's a TV.
Yeah.
And an
It plays
EAS
the
alert
The tone?
plays the
They got
tone.
sued for that?
You cannot play the tone at all. The FCC strictly prohibits the use of actual or simulated EAS and WEA tones in any instance other than an authorized test or an actual emergency. You can't use the tones or tones that sound substantially similar to EAS. They must never be included in any programming, promotional, or spot material, including advertisements. So, I mean, obviously, with The Walking Dead, a zombie apocalypse, that's an emergency.
Right.
So it would make sense that in that show, there would be an EAS test on a background television. Can't do it.
I did not realize this, but it makes sense if you think about it because you don't want to create a panic. But how often do you panic when you hear it?
Oh, I
guess
always assume
anyway.
it's a test.
I always assume it's a test too, unless there's, I think only one time in my life did
Yeah.
I hear it and it was real and it was like a tornado or something.
Actually, you're right, because they would say this is not a test.
Yes. So that's really strange to me, but I get it, I guess, because you can't, wasn't it Orson Welles
Yeah.
and War of the Worlds? And I believe there's some dispute to this story, but the conventional wisdom is they did that War of the Worlds broadcast decades ago, and people legitimately thought that we were being invaded by aliens because it sounded like a news broadcast.
Yeah.
I imagine this is along those lines where you don't want to create panic,
I mean, it makes sense.
but I don't know. We should be very careful. I know what you're going to do when you get fired.
Oh, I'm going to first say that we should all get ready to do a certain thing that we're not allowed to say.
Yeah, we'll
and
get
then
sued
I'm
for
going to play the EAS tone.
Yeah, on the
This
way out the
company is
door.
going to owe so much money.
So it's going to be costlier to. Can we use that as
Oh
a?
my gosh, you're right.
You can't fire us because we'll do this.
And that will cost a lot of money.
You don't want to lose
We'll
money,
have
do
to
you?
tie up Dave so he doesn't dump it.
Oh, I can tackle Dave.
Yeah. You tackle
I
him.
can handle
I'll
Dave.
say it.
Dave's 4'11". I got Dave. Don't worry about Dave. I'll take care of that. Hey, we got beer in the house.
Woo!
We've got Jonathan Moxie, the head brewer at Rockwell Brewing, coming in a moment on KMOX. Beer.
Following the Dave Glover Show at 5 o'clock, it's Total Information PM. Hey, I'm Michael Calhoun. Check in with Kevin Wheeler and me for the latest news and information. Roger covers your commute. Dave Murray's got the forecast. Matt Pauley has sports. We'll take deep dives on local issues and help you be a smarter consumer. At 5:30, the CBS Evening News helps you understand what's happening around the country and the world. Total Information PM at 5 o'clock, right after Dave Glover on the trusted voice of St. Louis, KMOX.
I always wanted to learn Spanish, but I never thought I'd have the time. Then I discovered Babbel.
Babbel's lessons are fun. They only take like 10 or 15 minutes, and in 3 weeks, presto, you're starting to speak another language. Like magic.
I love that Babbel's lessons aren't just robots talking. They're voiced by native speakers, so you get the pronunciation just right. And they're designed by real language teachers, so you learn how to have real-world conversations, things you'll actually use.
It's incredible. After using Babbel, I'm ready to start having real conversations in French.
There's all kinds of ways to learn. Use Babbel's podcasts or games or videos. You can even join live classes with a language teacher.
If you want to learn a language, there's no faster, easier, better way than
Babbel.
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 Babbel, évidemment. Go to babbel.com to try for free. That's BABBEL.com. Babbel.com.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6481. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. There is zero risk to you. If we can't reduce your tax debt, then you pay nothing. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have a 5-star rating on Google and Yelp and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6481. That's 800-575-6481. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
At 11:30, we have cloudy skies and 44 degrees. It feels like 38 downtown at the Arch. I'm Carol Daniel. There's a flood warning that has been extended for the Merrimack River at Valley Park, Pacific, and near Eureka until Wednesday at 3. A Mexican official says those 4 missing Americans have been found, but 2 are dead. 1 is wounded, the other unharmed, following their violent abduction Friday. CBS News correspondent Omar Villafranca says from Brownsville, Texas, there are key questions like the location where the Americans were found is yet to be determined. He says both countries have been working hand in hand. A relative of one of the Americans said the group had traveled together from South Carolina so one of them could get plastic surgery from a doctor in the border city of Matamoros.
It's not uncommon for people here on the Brownsville side to say, like, well, I need to go to the drugstore. Instead of going to CVS, they cross over and they go and buy a few things over there much cheaper and bring it back over here. The same thing with medical procedures, especially cosmetic.
The head of the Federal Reserve testifying today before the Senate Banking Committee on the U.S. economic outlook, fighting inflation, and the state of employment, including wages and available jobs. Jerome Powell says another interest rate hike could be on the way. The next time the Fed could raise interest rates is in 3 weeks when the Federal Reserve Board meets again. China's foreign minister has warned that Beijing and Washington are headed for conflict and confrontation if the U.S. doesn't change course. Qin Gang struck a combative tone at a moment when relations between the rivals are at a historic low. The long-planned reduction of the St. Louis Board of Aldermen getting started today as voters in St. Louis head to the polls. Election Director Gary Stotts says the 28-member board will be reduced to 14.
And many of the candidates are well known in their respective areas. Maybe they are incumbents. And so I just think it should encourage people to come out and cast their vote. And I think the weather's going to cooperate.
20% of registered voters expected to show up. The top 2 vote getters in each ward will face each other in the April election. Crews are working a crash 64 eastbound at 270. Right now, the 2 right lanes are closed. Could be closed for another 45 minutes. There is a stall 270 westbound at McDonald Boulevard on the right shoulder. And the KMOX forecast for this afternoon, partly sunny skies, chillier today, the high 53, plenty of cloud cover tonight, a couple of showers late tonight and into the morning hours, overnight low of 36. Right now it's cloudy 44. It feels like 38 degrees downtown at the Arch. The forecast sponsored by Chesterfield Fence and Deck. Chesterfield Fence and Deck is your premier provider of fences, decks, patios, sunrooms, and more. Call them for a free estimate today, now offering 20% off your next outdoor project. Chesterfield Fence and Deck, go to chesterfieldfence.com. I'm Carol Daniel, KMOX News.
Did you know that the average family home takes on 40 pounds of dust per year? It's the dust and debris that can worsen allergies and asthma and cause discomfort in your home. Call 314-474-2020. Mention the DGS or KMOX. Get $75 off any air duct cleaning package. ZeroResSTL.com.
Broadcasting from the Underline Three Lawyers. GetJim.com studios.
KMOX.
Let's face it, credit cards are pretty much a necessity.
New tires for the car? Here's my card.
I order takeout, here's my card. And most of us just accept the high interest rates credit cards charge as a necessary evil.
What are you going to do?
Get a low fixed rate credit card consolidation loan from Lightstream from $5,000 to $100,000 and pay off those credit card balances. Apply online and you could get your money as soon as the day you apply. The average credit card company charges over 19% APR. But with Lightstream, you can get a fixed rate as low as 7.99% APR with autopay and excellent credit.
Now I can pay off my high-interest credit cards and save money with a much lower rate.
Apply today at lightstream.com/radio and get an additional interest rate discount. That's lightstream.com/radio. Lightstream.com/radio.
Subject to credit approval. Rates range from 7.99% APR to 23.99% APR and includes 0.5% autopay discount. Lowest rate requires excellent credit. Terms and conditions apply and offers are subject to change without notice. Visit lightstream.com/radio for more information.
Hi, it's Matt Pauley. I'm in Jupiter, Florida, covering Cardinals spring training. Stay up to date with my reports from Redbirds Camp, mornings and afternoons, and Sports Open Line weeknights from the T.R. Hughes Homes Broadcast Center.
Spring training coverage, sponsored in part by Wilkie Window and Door, on your home of the Cardinals, KMOX.
Another like Tuesday morning at 11:30 to crack open a beer. We've done it. I don't care what you think. We've done it. You're jealous of us. Amy Marks-Kors and Chris Ranji on the show. We are joined in studio this morning by Jonathan Moxey, who is the head brewer at Rockwell Brewing Company. They've got the location on Vandevetter. They also have the beer garden, which I've not gotten a chance to go to yet, but I've heard it is awesome.
And we came up with the best idea.
Oh, yeah. We're going to do a remote there, hopefully.
Yep. Live show from the Rockwell Beer Garden.
April 19th, which is the last day. It was the Prohibition Day, right? So I think
Prohibition was repealed?
Yeah.
April 19th. All right.
Also, it was the end of the Waco siege.
Well, you've been talking a lot about Waco today. It's a little strange, not going to lie.
Well, there's a lot of Waco stuff that's out in the in the ether now. There's a couple of documentaries. There's a show.
Also, Andrew, he's a producer on the Dave Glover Show. He has a lot of books on Waco.
Yeah.
You would say a
office.
suspicious number of books on Waco.
So we didn't have you in here to talk about Waco, Jonathan. Fish Fry is an American light lager. It is a new Rockwell beer. And I'm not going to say we're drinking it now, but it tastes really good. And I can't tell you how I know that.
It's delicious. And you were pointing out 3.5%.
That's right. Yeah, it's a light, easy drinking lager. This is basically brewed to be our American drinking beer. We rolled it out last year, just in time for Lent. You know, fish fries here in St. Louis are a big part of the culture, a thing I'm a big fan of. And what better to go with fried cod than a nice, crispy, refreshing lager?
This is awesome. This is what we'll be having on Friday for sure with the fish fries.
This is a seasonal that you do, right? Or is this year round?
This is a seasonal. That's right. So we brew it specifically for Lent.
Okay.
And and to go with the fish fries here in town. And we released it earlier last month, and it'll be around at the brewery as well as the beer garden and select retailers, through Lent or while supplies last.
Yeah. And you released it last month. So is this the first time you've had a fish fry beer, or have you done it yearly?
We rolled it out last year.
Okay, gotcha.
Last year was the first time. We brewed a lot more this year because there was a great response to it. It was one of, if not the most popular beers that we released last year, and it's just great to see that sort of response.
I just have to ask this quickly, and if you're following us on the live stream, you can see the can. The labels of the Rockwell Beer Company, they're awesome. Like the designs are always so cool. You could decorate with them. So this is a fish and he's drinking beer and he's over the ocean and it's gorgeous. How do you guys design the labels?
So, thank you. First of all, we're definitely an art forward brewery with our label and our whole aesthetic. We work with a guy named Micah Moran, and he's just got a great eye for design. And so whenever we're coming up with, the concept for the label, typically what we'll do is, like we'll give him the name as well as some context, whether it's an inside joke that works on its own or some other clever turn of phrase, hopefully clever. We'll give him that and just kind of send him off. And he came up with this one, and it's one of my favorite ones that he's done.
It's awesome.
It is because pretty much any brewer, even, smaller scale brewer, has to do this. Like they have to come up with creative cans. And if you just go to, any sort of liquor store or beer store, the wall with all of the local breweries or the micro breweries, it's all just really innovative. Like every single can is.
Yeah, that's right. Like there's more than 9,000 breweries in the US right now, the most ever. And it's definitely a competition whenever you're talking about selling beer off premise, trying to get consumers' attention, get their repeat business, get them to try what is actually inside the can. What we work so hard on as brewers, we have to have something that's going to catch their eye and set us out, set us apart in the marketplace.
For this one, I mean, you're trying to find a flavor that will pair well with fried fish or just fish in general. How do you get to that point where you go, okay, that's it? That I have a starting point. I know where I want to go, I think, and then you end up tweaking it. How do you get to that point where you've perfected it?
Yeah, so that's an excellent question. I always think about food. If you can see me on the live stream, I don't know, but like, but I think about like how I want to experience this beer, and for something to go with fried fish, I'm looking for something that's going to be lighter in body, highly carbonated. You want those the effervescence of the beer to really like cut through the fat and the oil of the breading on the fried fish, refreshing your palate, getting you set for the next bite. But, something also that's complementary flavor wise, but isn't overpowering what it is that you're eating. So with fish fry, we took the American light lager style, but like wanted something more characterful than, if you were using like rice syrup solids or something like that to get that dry body. We're using toasted brown rice, which gives it a little bit of creaminess. And then we're lightly hopping the beer with Crystal and Supersatzer hops from Michigan. And what that's giving you is like just like this little citrus, like you're squeezing a lemon over that fried fish, and as well as like an herbal note that you might get in a tartar sauce.
We're chatting with Jonathan Moxie, the head brewer at Rockwell Brewing Company. So how many beers have you guys created now?
That's a great question. I've never gone back to look. We're, especially with our pilot system going now, like we're cranking out, at least 3 to 4 different beers a month. And there are beers that are available year round. There's ones like Fish Fry that are coming back seasonally, and some are one and done. Like that's really part of the joy for us is having this creative freedom to create come up with so many different things because we want a very diverse draft list.
And you were saying a lot of the inspiration does come from food just when you're eating, or are there other places where you get the inspiration? Because I would think there are so many beers out there, and I don't know the craft, obviously, like you do, but to say this is something we need to create, where do you get that inspiration?
Yeah, for me, like I very rarely start off with like, I want to make an IPA or I want to make a Pilsner. What I'm looking for is a feeling or an experience. Like I'm at a concert. What do I want in my glass to be like? Or if I'm eating something or if I'm listening to music, I may take a cue from that and think about the way that makes me feel and then try to create that in beer form. But a lot of it is culinary where I am, constantly thinking about what I'm going to be eating next and what would go best with that? What's going to give me my best experience at the table?
When you do these recipes, you're tweaking. You have an original idea, then the finished product isn't always going to be that. Do you ever hit first try? You ever know, like, that was it? I did it right off the top.
I think whenever we're putting something out, almost always we get something that we're at least, happy with as a starting point. But, the way that my head is wired, like I can never leave anything alone.
Right.
Like there's always going to be refinement or something new that we can learn. And that's one of the things that our team, really thrives on is, helping one another out, taking the recipes that we're creating together, or if an individual is creating something, and then refining it into that final product.
Jonathan, are you from St. Louis?
I'm not. I have lived here for a little over 10 years. I was originally from Sikeston, Missouri.
The Throwed Rolls?
That's right, Throwed Rolls.
Oh, that's right. I've never been there.
Yeah.
I can't believe that.
It's one of America's #1 places to pig out. But yeah, I grew up there, went to journalism school at Mizzou, and then lived in New York for about 6.5 years. And that's where I learned to homebrew before coming back here to start brewing professionally.
That's okay. That's incredible. So you went to journalism school. You're not thinking, I'm going to be a head brewer. You were going to go into journalism of some sort and move to New York for that reason?
That's right. Yeah. I graduated with a degree in journalism, and I realized very quickly thereafter that that's not where my passion was at, and that to be a journalist, I had to have that fire in my belly to get up and do a good job every morning. And then it was, trying to find something that I did want to do. And with brewing, it's been taking an idea and seeing it through to completion. And what that idea is at completion is something that puts smiles on people's faces.
Look,
So-
if I thought I could do a good job at brewing,
yeah,
I would make half the people listening to this show very happy, and I would
Mhm.
leave and go do that.
Yeah.
I would go do that right now.
Yeah,
but
but
there's no
you-
chance.
Yeah.
I can't do either thing well.
I know. You don't really have the fire in your belly, and yet you're
Nah,
still
this-
here.
this sucks.
So with the home brewing, did you realize, hey, what I'm making is really good? Because I feel like there's so many people with their hobbies, right? Yeah, I just do it for fun. But you made that jump not just to professional head brewer, but a tremendously, successful brewing company that is really garnering more and more attention for being so good.
Yeah, when I first started homebrewing, like I knew right off the bat, like this is it. It's
Mm.
like one of the clearest things in my head, like, this is what I want to do. Now, was I good at it right off the bat? No, but I had a great support system. And also, there were a number of festivals there in New York at the time where I could get honest feedback from total strangers, most of whom had something to drink beforehand. And their opinions are much more unvarnished than your friends and your family who are trying to be supportive.
Yeah.
Right. So Rockwell is part of the St. Louis fabric now in terms of the brewing culture. This is a really great city. I mean, obviously we've got Anheuser-Busch, the biggest brewer in the world, but to have all of these other smaller breweries that supplement that, is there a better city in the country for brewing than this one?
I mean, I think that we are, I think we're in the top tier for sure. Like we have a very diverse scene here. A lot of people are brewing at a very high level, and there's a lot of diversity in the beer that's being put on tap here. It's not known for just any one thing. And so I think that, yeah, we hold our own against cities that may be more prominent, like Asheville or Portland, Oregon, or Portland, Maine. I think we're right up there, and we're making some of the best beer in the country.
I love it. I'll just quickly, Neil Salsich of the Mighty Pines, just sent me a message. He's like, "This is so St. Louis. This is awesome." So, musician, he's gaining national attention. Also, big fan of Rockwell Beer Company, and this is this type of thing is just the best of St. Louis. This is awesome.
Thank you for coming in, Jonathan.
Yeah,
and thanks
absolutely.
for the beer.
Yeah, come on.
I may or may not be drinking now.
Well, yeah, thank you so much. And you all come see us either at the brewery or at the beer garden. We've got this fish fry. We also just a plug for Braswell, our food partner there at the brewery every Friday. They have, for my money, one of the best fried fish sandwiches
Oh, sounds amazing.
in town. Just doing a tremendous work of art there with fried cod and sauce grabiche.
Maybe do that this Friday. I think we'll head on over there.
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm going to do that this Friday. And then also we want to do a show from the beer garden, the Rockwell Beer Garden. I think that's going to be a blast.
April 19th to celebrate the end of the Waco siege.
That's right.
No,
Yeah.
the
the prohibition.
repealing prohibition. Come on, Raj.
That's it. Yeah, one of the two.
Yeah, come on out. We'd love to have you. And it's, we reopened the beer garden for the season last week and had a great weekend and a lot of people having fun out there drinking beer by the pickleball courts.
Love it.
Pickleball. I know somebody who likes pickleball, our boss. So he's really going to be into this. All right, Jonathan Moxie, thanks for coming in. This stuff's great.
Pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Jonathan Moxie, head brewer at Rockwell Brewing. Again, Vandeventer, they've got the one location and also the beer garden in Francis Park, which is, I'm told, it's awesome. And I can't wait to go. When the weather warms up, I will definitely be there. Amy Marks Kors and Chris Ranji with you on the show.
Hi, it's Tom Ackerman for Ophthalmology Associates, 314-966-5000, 12990 Manchester Road, just a half mile west of 270. I was there this year for my annual eye health examination, and I'm so happy that I did. Not only is my vision in good shape, but now I have peace of mind that I have good health. You see, an eye health examination can detect many health issues like diabetes or high blood pressure. So it's nice to know that they were able to check me over. Also, it was covered by my medical insurance, and I did not realize that the first time that I went for an annual eye exam. So that's terrific. Doctors Greg Birdie, Ranjan Malhotra, Robert Brusati, and Andrew Royer, very thankful for them. Ophthalmology Associates, the doctors, 314-966-5000. You should also schedule your eye exam and reach out to them. And when you do, tell them that Tom Ackerman sent you to Ophthalmology Associates. Also online at youridoc.com.
Hi, this is Ken.
And Laurie Heisey of Heisey Advisory Group. We're dedicated to helping individuals and families work toward their financial goals.
Join us Sundays at 9:30 a.m. for Your Retirement Highway.
Investment advisory services by individuals through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
Hi, this is Brian with Velocity Home Buyers, and I buy houses cash. If you own a house and want to sell it fast at a fair price, call me at 314-782-5555. I can pay cash and close in as little as 7 days. I buy houses in any condition and any price range in the St. Louis area. I'm a private real estate investor who buys several houses a month, and I want to buy more. I buy inherited houses, divorce houses, behind in payment houses. I even buy my tenant won't pay me the rent houses. Do you own a house that needs updating, but you don't have the time or money for it? Great, because I love buying outdated houses. I buy vacant houses, behind on taxes houses, and foreclosure houses. If you own a house and want to sell it fast, call me at 314-782-5555. That's 314-782-5555.
If you own a small business, you know the value of time. GetRefunds.com does too. That's why they've made it easy, no matter how busy you are, to apply for the Employee Retention Credit or ERC. Go to refunds.com to get started and in less than 8 minutes, see if your business qualifies for ERC assistance. Your business may be eligible for a payroll tax refund of up to $26,000 per employee kept on payroll during COVID-19. GetRefunds.com has already helped clients claim over $3 billion in payroll tax refunds through the ERC, and they may be able to help your business too. There's no upfront charge either. They don't get paid until your business gets its refund. Many businesses believe they won't qualify based on incomplete or outdated information. So don't let this opportunity pass you by, because this payroll tax refund is only available for a limited time. Go to getrefunds.com. That's getrefunds.com.
According to Forbes, 96% of Americans, 96%, lose an average of $111,000 in Social Security income. Learn how you can avoid this in a one-night adult education class, Retirement Planning 101, held at colleges and universities throughout Greater St. Louis. In just 3 hours, you'll benefit from decades of financial planning experience about Social Security, taxes, healthcare and Medicare, investing for income, and so much more. These classes are hosted by financial and tax architects, your retirement professors. If you've saved at least $300,000 for retirement, register now by calling 314-626-8817. You pay zero tuition if you call today. So call 314-626-8817. 314-626-8817.
Amy Marks scores.
This is my show, my microphone.
On the show.
You know, you just mentioned the Mighty Pines.
Yes.
Amy.
Yes.
And it's weird you say that because I just saw them play on Friday. They're playing
did you
outdoors, yeah.
Oh yeah, they're awesome, and they're playing a bluegrass festival in Waterloo because I was looking at the dates for that. And Neil Salsage of the Mighty Pines. Well, one, he's awesome. He just messaged us about Rockwell Beer Company. I know he's a listener of the show. He's awesome. Great St. Louis guy. And he was on The Voice. And all 4 chairs turned around.
So I will admit I've never seen The Voice, but I'm to understand that's a good thing.
It is
when they all turn around.
It's a great thing. You know what? We should have had the audio for this.
when they turn around,
Yeah.
that means they like you.
They do like
Right?
you. Yeah. And so it was, who was it? Blake Shelton, Kelly Clarkson. They all turned around. He sang Hank Williams' Honky Tonk Blues.
Oh, yeah.
And they spun around, which is actually pretty awesome. You know, the last time we talked about The Voice, I think it was Kennedy Holmes. She was on The Voice a few years ago.
And she sang on Saturday night at St. Louis SC, right? She performed the national anthem.
She sang the national anthem. Yeah. So it's pretty cool. Oh, Chance the Rapper. He turned around.
Oh, Chance is my guy. I love Chance the Rapper. He gets it. He knows music. So what's the next step then? What happens next?
So Neil picked Blake Shelton to be his coach. So
Okay.
because they all 4 coaches turned around, he could pick any of them. And so, like I said, Chance the Rapper, Kelly Clarkson, Blake Shelton, and he did go for Blake, and then they continue to move on
Oh, that's interesting.
to the next rounds. Kind of like it's not American Idol, but kind of that same idea with
Right.
voting and singing and performing.
There are a lot of competition singing shows. So he's advancing. We got
He's
a St. Louis
advancing.
who's
That's
moving on.
awesome.
That's really great. All right, good for him. Yeah, my buddy loves the Mighty Pines. I think they played on New Year's Eve somewhere.
They did. And they
Okay,
also
so he went to that.
And before that, there was like a big tent music festival, which was awesome and had a ton of musicians. St. Louis music scene is rocking. I mean, we have so many talented musicians, and I love how they'll intermingle and play, gigs with each other, whether you're talking about like Celebration Day, the Led Zeppelin tribute band, of course, El Monstero, but then you have the jazz band. I had Dave Grelly and the Playadors. We had Dave on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that very jazzy sound. And with Joanna Sorenko, I believe she was on The Voice. And then I know Dave Grelly, his whole group, I mean, they are, buds with the Mighty Pines. It's pretty cool, the different festivals that they do, different concerts that they put on.
I would like to never again hear you say this place is rockin'.
Rockin' is like old timey. You're 100 years old and you say this song slaps. It's a banger.
That's right. It's a banger.
Yeah, you can't
The
say
Mighty
that.
Pines had they slapped.
Nothing but bangers.
No, they had it was nothing but bangers on
Nothing
Friday.
but bangers. Yeah, but you are 100 years old. You can't use
And a lot of weed in the crowd.
You can't use
There was a lot of weed.
You can't use Gen Z language.
I sure as hell can because I pay attention to the Gen Zers
When?
all the time.
Like on TikTok?
No, Instagram.
Okay.
I follow the Instagram stories.
Some big news coming out of Jefferson City.
Oh, I was just about to mention that. Go ahead.
Speaking of big stories, so Emily Manley will be joining us. She's the Fox 2 News Capitol reporter, not only talking about the state takeover potential of the St. Louis City Police, but breaking news, a federal judge has ruled that Missouri's Second Amendment Preservation Act, which invalidates federal gun laws in the state, is unconstitutional. The General Assembly passed the Second Amendment Preservation Act back in 2021. So breaking news from Emily Manley, and we will talk with her at 12:30 about that.
Which this is interesting because I believe the police were not necessarily in favor of this because it makes their jobs more difficult.
Not only does it make it more difficult, but they could face punitive measures if they do enforce federal gun laws. They could be fined. They could face disciplinary action.
$50,000 for violating.
Yeah.
Come on. All right. Well, good to be talking to Emily Manley in the next hour. That's Amy Marks Kors. I'm Chris Ron G. You've got the show on KMOX.
Spring is the perfect time for a refresh. And at Ashley, you'll find the pieces you love. Shop now with financing options for every budget. Get 60 months no interest with no down payment. Ashley's biggest event of the year is going on now. Shop hot deals starting at $199. Plus, shop Ashley Sleep Doorbuster mattresses. Your choice Comfort Queen mattress, now only $399. Text 79975 to schedule your appointment today. The Orange event is happening now. In-store only at Ashley.
When you hire your local CertaPro painters, you get
the power of a cut above.
Decades of expertise to transform your home. From so-so to virtuoso.
The power of neighborhood painters.
We live where you live and probably like the same pizza place you do. Put
the power of pro
to work for you today. Get your project started at CertaPro.com.
Each CertaPro painter's business is independently owned and operated.
KMOX, KEZK HD2, K254CR, St. Louis.
The home of the Cardinals, KMOX. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
Hey guys, David Rach here from the DGS for our good friends at SmartMouth.
The great thing about SmartMouth is once you use it, you are never going to go back to those other brands. That's because SmartMouth actually works. It uses science to eliminate your bad breath at the source for up to 12 hours per rinse. Scope, Listerine, TheraBreath, they can't make those claims because they don't actually work at the end of the day like SmartMouth does.
Also, you can't do anything better for your oral health than SmartMouth DDS. Go to smartmouth.com/Glover to download a $2.50 off coupon on anything.
Mid-America's most trusted source for news. KMOX.
At 12 noon, it's cloudy and 46 degrees downtown FE Arch. I'm Michael Calhoun. Our top story this hour. Missouri's Second Amendment Preservation Act has been ruled unconstitutional by a federal judge. The act claims to invalidate federal gun laws in the state and allows police departments to be sued for up to $50,000 for an alleged Second Amendment violation that's meant to the end to some partnerships between local police and the feds. The 4 Americans missing in Mexico have been found.
2 of the Americans missing since they were kidnapped in Matamoros, Mexico last Friday are dead, says an official in Mexico. 2 others are alive, though 1 is wounded. The FBI had been searching with Mexican authorities for the missing Americans. A relative of one of them said they had traveled together from South Carolina so one of them could get a tummy tuck. Shortly after driving into Mexico on Friday, they were caught in the crossfire of rival cartel groups. A video showed them being loaded into the back of a pickup truck by gunmen. I'm Rita Foley.
More rate hikes are possible.
Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell telling the Senate Banking Committee today in his semi-annual testimony to Congress that if the economy stays robust and continues to push inflation higher, the central bank stands ready to increase the size and pace of interest rate hikes by even more than previously predicted. Tom Busby, Bloomberg Radio.
Census numbers had St. Louis City dropping below 300,000 residents, but was later revised to be just a hair over. Neil Richardson with the St. Louis Development Corporation says while areas of the city are growing, it lost 27,000 Black residents.
So we've lost the majority of those Black residents in the middle income. So it's not the lower tax bracket. It's not even the higher because we have this inventory of housing and not newer housing that actually attracts the young professional. A lot of Black professionals, they want to see opportunities, they want to see entertainment, they want to see safe schools.
Richardson says because St. Louis is a city and a county, dropping below 300,000 people affects how much money the city can get from the federal and state governments. Investigators with the FAA and NTSB are working to figure out what's leading to a number of incidents involving airplanes. The questions come after the arrest of a man trying to open the door mid-flight and 2 planes clipping wings. More on this from CBS News correspondent Lilia Luciano.
Yesterday, 2 United planes clipped their wings while on the tarmac at Boston Logan. Investigators say it happened when one United plane being towed made contact with another that was parked at the neighboring gate. No one was injured.
The KMOX business desk, the Biden administration is suing to block JetBlue from buying Spirit Airlines. Here's CBS News correspondent Steve Dorsey in Washington.
The Justice Department says the $3.8 billion purchase would reduce competition in the skies. Attorney General Merrick Garland.
We allege that if allowed to proceed, this merger will limit choices and drive up ticket prices for passengers across the country.
Garland says it would drive up prices, especially for cost-conscious travelers who pay their own way and don't fly on their employer's dime. JetBlue says the deal would create a stronger competitor to the 4 other largest carriers in the U.S. who control about 80% of the domestic air travel market. Steve Dorsey, CBS News, Washington.
Down from Steeples, down 415 points to 33,016. We've got a stalled vehicle on 70 East at 5th Street. The right lane is closed. Some debris on 70 East at Bircher and a stalled vehicle 270 South at Big Bend. That's on the right shoulder. Debris 270 North at Gravois. 2 left lanes closed.
KMOX AccuWeather, early clouds giving way to some sun, much chillier than yesterday by about 20 degrees, up to 53, and then showers of rain mixed with some snow tonight into tomorrow morning. Low to mid-30s tonight, back up to 45, breezy and cold tomorrow. Some rain Thursday in the afternoon, upper 40s, and then chilly, breezy, and some precipitation to look at for the weekend ahead. I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Steve DeVore, the voice of St. Louis, KMOX.
Sponsored by Farm and Home Supply. Cloudy, 47 in Florissant, 47 in St. Peters, and 46 degrees downtown at the Arch. I'm Michael Calhoun, KMOX News.
March into savings at your local Farm and Home Supply store now until Sunday, March 12th. Everything from cowboy boots, work boots, tennis shoes, casual shoes, sandals, kids shoes, rain boots, and more. Shop in-store or online at farmandhomesupply.com.
The show, sponsored by the Cardinals. Cardinal tickets for 2023 are on sale now and start at just $6. Info at cardinals.com.
Amy Marks Kors and Chris Ranji on the show on KMOX. A good afternoon to you. Welcome to the lunch hour. Dave Glover at 1. Amy and I hang out with those people from 1 until 2 o'clock every day, Monday through Friday on KMOX. The state of Missouri is moving closer to taking over the St. Louis Police Department. An overwhelming vote in the House of Representatives in Missouri in favor of doing so. It moves to the Senate and then would go to Governor Parson to sign into action, and it would take place or would go into effect at the end of August if this all goes through. My inclination is that it is going to. I believe that it will happen. I believe the Senate will pass it. It has overwhelming support. I'm not sure I like the idea overall of taking the voice away from the people who voted for this 10 years ago. I also understand we're in an unusual position where something has to be done about crime. And I'm still of the mindset that maybe we want to try everything we can just to get things under control.
Yes, it did pass the House 113 to 40. 3 people voted present. Those were Democrats out of Kansas City. And there were 3 Democrats who voted for the state takeover, Representatives Donna Behringer, Steve Butts, and Robert Sauls. Ian Mackey did say he would support the bill last week, but then ended up voting no. And yeah, we'll see how this moves forward. There will be a 5-person board. Mayor Tashar Jones will be on the board. The other 4 people will be appointed by Governor Parson, then approved by the Senate. And the Republicans who were pushing this measure pointed to lack of recruitment, struggling with retention within the police department, and then continued and persistent high crime rates. So the 10 years that there was local control over the city department, they're saying did not work, and they will be looking to move forward with the bill through the Senate to have the state take over the police department in the city.
We'll see. We'll see. I hope it helps. I hope whatever we do makes the situation better. But if we want to make real movement on addressing crime in St. Louis, it can't just be this. It can't just be more police. It has to be those things, and it has to be paying better attention to underserved communities. It has to. And we also have to do something about some of the really loose gun restrictions we have here. We have some of the loosest in the country, and it makes the job of police more difficult.
Yes. I mean, the fact that you can have unsupervised minors walking around the city with a gun, and that there was, for a time, a measure in this bill that would have made that illegal, and Republicans removed that measure. To me, I don't understand. It's a head scratcher. There are stricter laws when it comes to squirrel hunting and juveniles that need to be supervised. So it's just not a good idea to have unsupervised youths legally walking around with guns here in the city. So we do need to look at more gun laws. There was a statement, the mayor, Tashara Jones, issued a statement, and she did refer to the underlying root causes of crime, how her administration would continue to pursue repairs for that, whether it's looking at poverty, education, investment, and such. She also said, and will continue to focus on making criminals take responsibility for their crimes. That part, to me, doesn't mean anything. First of all, as the mayor, she doesn't have a whole lot of power to make sure that criminals are prosecuted for their crimes, that they have to pay the price for the crimes that they pay. The circuit attorney does. The prosecuting attorney, Kim Gardner, does. She is not doing that. The mayor can definitely affect the police department and the support that the police department has, the funds that are channeled to the police department, and even just, the support, the community ties in general. But criminals aren't being held accountable here in St. Louis City. They're just not. So don't pretend like she is.
Speaking of that, and the circuit attorney's office being a little bit understaffed, we talked to Peter Joy, Henry Hitchcock Professor of Law, Director of Criminal Justice at Washington University.
Especially on a large number of those cases, having them be dismissed once and then refiled to buy more time. And meanwhile, a continual backlog of cases builds up as you try to stretch out the amount of time you need to handle the cases properly.
If you want to hear the entire interview, it is on the Odyssey app. Just download it and go back and get it. And, we talked about it being understaffed, and there are about half the amount of people there that used to be there, and they're having to stretch the caseload pretty wide, which means you're stretching personnel pretty thin.
Yes, and Professor Peter Joy said, yes, he was very familiar with the 2002 study by the U.S. Department of Justice that said prosecutors in general can handle 20 homicide cases a year if they have no other assignments. Here in St. Louis, you could look at a single prosecutor handling 45 open murder cases or manslaughter cases with 60 other mostly violent felonies. So that's being completely overwhelmed. You can't do the job with that type of workload.
Yes, and he also did say he wasn't exactly sure or comfortable with the idea of the state of Missouri taking over the police department, and we'll see what kind of ramifications do come from that. I'm with him. I have some skepticism that it's actually going to work, but I also want, as I said earlier, I want to try something. I think we have to move forward somehow and make some progress. We just spoke to a moment ago Jonathan Moxey, who is the head brewer at Rockwell Brewing Company. Rockwell's got the 2 locations. We have got to get to that beer garden, and I'm not going to say I've been tasting the beer, the fish fry beer that came in, but I know it's good.
Yeah, it's really good. 3.5% alcohol.
Perfect.
And yet it's delicious. It's full of flavor. It's light. It's a drinking beer. Also, We are going to broadcast live from the Rockwell Beer Garden, not on April 19th because there is an early Cardinals game, but
Maybe the 20th?
The 20th?
Maybe the 18th?
And there are pickleball courts right there.
Maybe the 21st?
And so we could talk all things beer. We could have some pickleball going on. I mean, it would be a blast. It would be a shindig.
Oh, my God.
What?
And we talked about Amy using old phrases and...
And we talked about Ranji being old and using Gen Z phrases, which,
What?
act your age.
Hey, what do you mean? I pay attention to Gen Z, no cap.
Oh, my gosh. Don't say that. You
What do you
don't
mean?
go on dates and say that, do you?
What? Bet.
No cap?
Bet.
No.
I do.
Oh my gosh. No, you don't. That would be such a red flag. Please tell. Okay. Have you said bet on a date?
Okay, boomer.
Have you said
What?
bet on a date?
I've never said bet on a date. But I will tell you this.
Yeah.
If I do go on a date and we go see a band like the Mighty Pines, I can tell them, hey, this slaps.
Nothing but bangers.
Nothing but bangers from
Yeah.
the Mighty Pines. All right. We're going to talk to Emily Manley. I think you mentioned that here.
Mhm.
We will talk to her about that ruling of the constitutionality. Did I say this? Good Lord. Stop talking, man. Of the SAPA Act, the Second Amendment Preservation Act at 12:30. Emily Manley, who covers Jeff City, is going to join us to talk about it being ruled unconstitutional. So that is coming up in the show. But when we come back, Amy has told us how what she wants to have happen to her
Yeah.
after she dies.
Oh my gosh, guys.
It's
And the thing is, I thought of it. It's a thing,
This
but
was
I
your
thought
idea.
of it. It was my idea. Somebody obviously stole it from me. And I couldn't believe it when I saw it. And you can do this special thing in 6 easy steps.
That's right. You can have this thing done to you, a thing that Amy wants to have done to her when she passes away.
Gives you something to look forward to.
You mean the next segment? That's next on the show.
For everything online, it's Odyssey.com. Download the Odyssey app and listen to The Dave Glover Show and all the news, talk, sports, and podcasts that move you. Odyssey, that's AUDACY.
I always wanted to learn Spanish, but I never thought I'd have the time. Then I discovered Babbel.
Babbel's lessons are fun. They only take like 10 or 15 minutes, and in 3 weeks, presto, you're starting to speak another language. Like magic.
I love that Babbel's lessons aren't just robots talking. They're voiced by native speakers, so you get the pronunciation just right. And they're designed by real language teachers, so you learn how to have real-world conversations, things you'll actually use.
It's incredible. After using Babbel, I'm ready to start having real conversations in French.
There's all kinds of ways to learn. Use Babbel's podcasts or games or videos. You can even join live classes with a language teacher.
If you want to learn a language, there's no faster, easier, better way than
Babbel.
Babbel.
Babbel. Babbel. Évidemment.
Go to Babbel.com to try for free. That's BABBEL.com. Babbel.com.
Hi, this is Ken.
And Lori Heisey of Heisey Advisory Group. We're dedicated to helping individuals and families work toward their financial goals.
Join us Sundays at 9:30 a.m. for Your Retirement Highway.
Investment advisory services by individuals through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
Need to sell your home, but not willing to play the wait and see game? This is Debbie Monterey with Gloria Liu with Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. With Gloria Liu, you have seller options to choose from, including a no-obligation cash offer from one of Gloria Liu's cash buyers. It's simple, straightforward, and in many cases, you can receive a cash offer in less than 24 hours. No more wait and see game. And you can even pick the closing date. With Gloria Liu and her cash offer program, you are always in control. Not ready for the cash offer? No problem. Gloria Liu has a guaranteed sold program that states Gloria will sell your home at your agreed to price and time frame, or she will buy it herself, guaranteed in writing. Gloria has solutions and options for every seller. So call today and ask about Gloria's no obligation cash offer program or the guaranteed sold program, 314-325-6888, or online at gloriahasthebuyers.com. Conditions apply. Gloria and seller must agree on price and possession date.
If you own a small business, you know the value of time. GetRefunds.com does too. That's why they've made it easy, no matter how busy you are, to apply for the Employee Retention Credit or ERC. Go to refunds.com to get started and in less than 8 minutes, see if your business qualifies for ERC assistance. Your business may be eligible for a payroll tax refund of up to $26,000 per employee kept on payroll during COVID-19. GetRefunds.com has already helped clients claim over $3 billion in payroll tax refunds through the ERC, and they may be able to help your business too. There's no upfront charge either. They don't get paid until your business gets its refund. Many businesses believe they won't qualify based on incomplete or outdated information. So don't let this opportunity pass you by, because this payroll tax refund is only available for a limited time. Go to getrefunds.com. That's getrefunds.com.
Are you ready to smell better naked? I'm Dr. Shannon Klingman, the OBGYN creator of Lumi, the whole body deodorant that's clinically proven to control odor for 72 hours on pits, feet, privates, and beyond. It's pH optimized to safely and effectively control odor anywhere you have it, but wish you didn't. Plus, it's proven to work better than a shower with soap alone. Whether you shower twice a day or 3 times a week, Lumi works better. And did we mention it's aluminum free? With over 200,000 5-star reviews, I'm so sure you're going to love it, or you can return it for free.
There's a special offer for listeners. Use code 903 and get an extra $5 off a Lumi starter pack that comes with a solid stick, cream tube, free product of your choice, and ships free with code 903. LUME deodorant.com, code 903 for an extra $5 off a Lumi starter pack. Love it or return it for free. That's LUME deodorant.com, code 903.
Live and local. This is St. Louis's News Radio, KMOX.
Honestly, I'm tearing up right now thinking about
Your
my
death?
dead body being shot into space.
We have two options right now, real quick. We can take a caller who's mad that we're not taking callers.
Yeah.
And thinks that we need to be more educated.
Yeah.
And we're stupid and Bob Hyland rolling over in his grave. Or we could talk about Amy's dead body getting launched into space.
I'm
going
door
with
number,
option B.
Yeah, door number 2, please.
Let's talk about it.
Guys,
all right, go ahead.
This
what's
is
the
I
deal?
saw this story last night and I lost my mind. I lost my mind because I thought of this first. What is this, you say? Space burial. Space burial. The reason why I thought of space burial is because my friends and I were talking about what are you going to do with your body when you die? Because, it's kind of a racket. It's expensive. You have the casket, the burial, the site. It's a lot of money. It's a big ordeal for your loved ones. And my mom has always said, she's like, I don't want to be a hassle. Just, throw me in the backyard. Well, you can't do that. That's illegal. That's illegal. You can't do that.
You can be buried in your own backyard,
I
right?
don't think you can.
Can't you do like a real coffin or
No.
whatever?
I don't think so.
Can't you get a permit?
I don't think so.
All right.
So anyway, my friends and I were talking about this, and they were saying actually burying people, plots of land, more people die, not very green because you can't build on those spaces. Those spaces
Right.
become unusable for anything else. Apparently, there's a forest in Oregon where you can bury people and they compost and you can keep burying them there for fertilizer, which sounds green. I forgot why it might not be. Then we talked about, well, what if you go in the ocean and you decompose? You don't even have to be in a casket. You can just put yourself in like a decomposable, I should say, decomposable linen bag, throw you in the middle of the ocean, you decompose. And someone pointed out that's what happened to Osama bin Laden.
It is true.
So it'd be the bin Laden package, which does sound environmentally friendly.
Right.
Then space, the final frontier.
Yeah.
What if we launched ourselves into space? So I came up with this idea, and guess what the name of my company is?
Your company or the actual one?
Mine. The one the actual one obviously stole my idea.
Okay. I don't know.
My company is called Space Corps.
You're so dumb.
Dead on arrival.
I get it. I get it.
So
the name of this company is called what now?
Celestis.
Celestis.
And here's what's going to happen.
Okay.
DNA from 4 American presidents all dead, mind you, will launch into deep space. Here's what they're going to do. Texas-based space burial company Celestis will honor George Washington, Dwight D. Eisenhower, John F. Kennedy, and Ronald Reagan by adding some of their remains to the aerospace firm's upcoming Deep Space Remembrance Enterprise flight, along with several deceased Star Trek legends.
Oh, like Leonard Nimoy?
I don't know. And science fiction superstars. So this was announced on President's Day. In addition to the cremated remains and DNA samples of Nichelle Nichols, DeForest Kelley, Star Trek creator Gene Roddenberry.
Yeah. She played Uhura.
Mhm. So it looks like not Leonard Nimoy.
Oh.
First of all, I mean, there's a lot to absorb here. Never pictured George Washington, Eisenhower, JFK, Ronald Reagan being honored with Star Trek legends. Maybe Ronald Reagan. That kind of makes sense. George Washington and Star Trek legends, I would have thought maybe 2 separate flights. If you can afford it, you're a space burial company. So again, I couldn't believe it because I thought of Space Corpse. I just think it's a great name. It's awesome. It's hilarious.
Do you think that it is inappropriate to send up the remains of Star Trek actors Star Trek people along with former presidents? Because I think Star Trek, and I didn't really care for the original TV show. It was before my time, but I think it was culturally big for this country.
Mm-hmm.
It was a huge deal. Made people interested in the space program. It was an inclusive show.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was great.
It was, and that's why I can see Ronald Reagan and the Star Trek people going up together. George Washington, I feel like, deserves his own flight.
Nah, he can go along
Like,
with
you
the
should
rest of them.
separate them a little bit.
It's fine.
Anyway, I was so excited about Space Corps that Mason Jar's son, who's 9, even drew a little advertisement with me for Space Corps. It was awesome. I mean, we have it documented that we thought of Space Corps first. At any rate, I decided let's look into these space burials. You go to beyondburials.com. Here's what it says. From Earth to space in 6 easy steps. Not bad.
I think that seems like it's really easy.
Step 1, you select the memorial service that is just right for you. I could have the Starlight Memorial, the Shooting Star Memorial, the Moon Memorial, or the Milky Way Memorial. Then you receive your memorial service box in the mail. It takes 1 to 3 weeks. You get a little box. It has a prepaid shipping label, an elegant white mother of pearl scoop to scoop your loved ones into the little tin. So then you prepare your memorial box, and there's 2 tins actually. One tin is for you to keep. So you use the elegant mother of pearl scoop to scoop me into 1 tin, which you keep for yourself. Then you scoop the other part of me into another tin. You place it in the box with the prepaid shipping label, and then you put it in a container. And they said that may be hard for you to put it in the box. So you can get help from a funeral service person. So then you select the Beyond Burials container. You have that. You put the shipping label on the package.
Okay.
Then you ship it back to them. And then step 5, quote, we launch your remains into space. That's awesome. You'll be informed of your projected launch date. You'll be notified of any updates as we keep you informed along the way. Step 6, watch your memorial video. Within a short period of time, you or your loved ones will receive a professionally edited video of your remains being launched into outer space.
That would be great.
For you to, quote, enjoy with your family.
Well, I'll tell you what.
I think this is awesome.
I think that here's what I would like to have happen.
Yeah.
Can they launch me? Because you know how people say this all the time? I would like to literally be launched into the sun.
Yeah.
Fire that guy right into the sun.
Icarus.
That's what I want. I want you to fire me right directly into the sun. And if that's not possible, you know what I want? I just want one of those old-fashioned medieval catapults. And I want you to... And I want you to take me to one of those cliffs off the coast of Ireland.
Yeah.
And I want you to just launch me into the water.
They're going to accidentally launch you into a neighborhood.
Probably.
You're going to go over the water. Just land in a
Whoa.
playground.
This texter
Yeah.
says, I believe some states are working on legislation to allow backyard burials, but what happens if you move? Great question. You're stuck with that
Actually-
house in Forrest Gump where Jenny's buried in the
Oh
backyard.
my gosh. That's why you should be launched into space. You can orbit.
That's right. I'll always be there.
Yeah. You look up in the sky, you go, you're up there, and you really are.
I think it's such a great idea.
If they don't advertise with us, I'll do it. I'll do lives for Beyond Burials.
Just fire us both right into the sun. Amy Marks Kors and Chris Ranji. Emily Manley's got some news from Jeff City. She's with Fox 2, and she joins us next on KMOX.
And you may ask yourself, well, how did I get here?
What's on Dave Glover's mind?
I was thinking about if someone said, put together a dozen or 20 people and you're going to go in and try to fix stuff. I would want everyone who we have on the show. I would want Michael Kelly. I would want John Hancock. I would want Gene Evans. I would want Jack Coder. I would want Steve Ellman. And I think that separates people like me from partisans. I would want all those people.
The Dave Glover Show, weekdays beginning at 1 on KMOX.
Finding great people to hire is like trying to find a needle in a haystack. It's pretty difficult, right? Well, ZipRecruiter has mastered finding a needle in a haystack, so they take it to the next level. They make hiring so simple that it's like finding a needle in a needle stack. And that's why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Here's what it's like to use ZipRecruiter. They have so many qualified candidates that it's easier to find the right ones for your roles. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. That's a lot of needles. So how do they do it? ZipRecruiter's powerful technology sends you candidates who are a great match for your job, and you can even invite your top choices to apply. So if you want less hay and more needles, head to ZipRecruiter.
And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Charlie Brennan here. Last year, Beth and I discovered water in the ceiling near the chimney in the front of our house. We immediately called Morelli Tuck Pointing, St. Louis's premier tuck pointer since 1991. The Morelli team then tuck pointed the front and the rear chimneys above the roof and spot tuck pointed below the roof. Morelli used a waterproof mortar that perfectly matched the existing mortar. Then the guys re-cemented the cap, sealed the flashing, and waterproofed the chimney. They then cleaned up so you could never tell any work was done. The Brennans no longer see any water in our front room, and I think if you live in a brick or stone home in need of repair, call the company that's received the Angie's List Super Service Award every year, back to back to back since 2005. Morelli, winner of the BBB Torch Award. Check out their reviews on the Google, Angie's List, and Better Business Bureau websites. MorelliTuckPointing.com, 314-645-1387.
At 12:30, it's cloudy and 46 degrees downtown at the Arch. Sponsored by Michael's Flooring Outlet, the flooring experts, michaelsflooringoutlet.com. A federal judge has ruled that the Second Amendment Preservation Act passed by Missouri legislators in 2021 is unconstitutional. Capitol reporter Emily Manley joins the show coming up. China's foreign minister has warned that Beijing and Washington are headed for conflict and confrontation if the U.S. doesn't change course. The harsh language appeared to defy predictions that China might abandon its aggressive wolf warrior diplomacy in favor of a more moderate rhetoric as the two countries face off over trade and technology, Taiwan, human rights, and Russia's invasion of Ukraine. A Mexican official says 2 U.S. citizens missing since their violent abduction last week in a northern Mexican border city have been found dead. 2 others have been found alive, with 1 wounded. We've got emergency vehicles on 270 South before Olive on the right shoulder, debris on 70 East at Bircher, and a stalled vehicle 70 East at Union. Also a stall 70 West at 141 on the right shoulder. The rest of today, the forecast sponsored by Cotton's Ace Hardware. Early clouds give way to some sun, chillier than yesterday with a high of 53. Showers arrive tonight, rain mixed with some snow and a low 36. And rain or snow showers continue tomorrow through midday with a high of 45. When it comes to finding the perfect grill, family-owned Cotton's Ace Hardware has the best in name brands from Weber, Traeger to the Big Green Egg. Free delivery and fuel on any grills over $300 and free assembly and free haul away of your old grill. Find your nearest location at cottonsacehardware.com. 46 downtown at the Arch. I'm Michael Calhoun, KMOX News.
One of the fun things about spring training is seeing the future of a team get a chance to play with the stars of today. That's even more applicable to this year, where more at-bats and innings are available to young guys as a result of players being gone for the World Baseball Classic. For example, in yesterday's game, Victor Scott II starts in center field. He's never appeared above the single-A level. Cardinals manager Oliver Marmol thinks it's great for minor league guys to get these types of opportunities.
My hope is that they get more out of the experience and being in the dugout and asking questions and just seeing how other guys go about their work. If he goes 0 for 4, 4 for 4, it's irrelevant to me.
The Cardinals are on the other side of Florida today playing the Tigers in Lakeland. That game just getting underway. From the T.R. Hughes Homes Broadcast Center in Jupiter, Matt Pauley, KMOX Sports.
This Cardinals Spring Training Report is sponsored by Norm's Bargain Bar and Wilkie Window and Door. Broadcasting from the Underlaw Injury Lawyers, GetJim.com studios.
KMOX.
There are a ton of social networking websites, but one stands apart for a very special reason. This one saves lives. It's MatchingDonors.com. MatchingDonors.com links organ donors with people in need of kidney and other transplants. In the U.S., 22 people die each day waiting for an organ transplant, most of them for kidneys. If you've ever considered becoming a living organ donor, or if you're someone in need of an organ transplant, visit MatchingDonors.com, home of the greatest gift of all, the gift of life. MatchingDonors.com.
Let's face it, credit cards are pretty much a necessity.
New tires for the car? Here's my card.
I order takeout, here's my card. And most of us just accept the high interest rates credit cards charge as a necessary evil.
What are you going to do?
Get a low fixed-rate credit card consolidation loan from Lightstream from $5,000 to $100,000 and pay off those credit card balances. Apply online, and you could get your money as soon as the day you apply. The average credit card company charges over 19% APR. But with Lightstream, you can get a fixed rate as low as 7.99% APR with autopay and excellent credit.
Now I can pay off my high-interest credit cards and save money with a much lower rate.
Apply today at lightstream.com/radio and get an additional interest rate discount. That's lightstream.com/radio. Lightstream.com/radio.
Subject to credit approval. Rates range from 7.99% APR to 23.99% APR and include a 0.5% autopay discount. Lowest rate requires excellent credit. Terms and conditions apply, and offers are subject to change without notice. Visit lightstream.com/radio for more information.
Hi, it's Matt Pauley. I'm in Jupiter, Florida, covering Cardinals spring training. Stay up to date with my reports from Redbirds Camp, mornings and afternoons, and Sports Open Line weeknights from the T.R. Hughes Homes Broadcast Center.
Spring training coverage, sponsored in part by Wilkie Window and Door on your home of the Cardinals, KMOX.
Amy Marchkors and Chris Ranji on the show. It is a fun afternoon that we are having for the most part. And I have realized, Amy, this show is bussin'. Now we go back to the guest line today. You don't know what that means, do you?
Yeah, it means it's awesome.
Wow.
You know why?
Yeah.
Well, because you have memory issues and you told me that yesterday.
I did?
Yes.
We did not talk about bussin'
Yes,
yesterday.
we did.
No. You know who else is bussin'?
Emily Manley.
Emily Manley. She joins us on the guest line, Fox 2 News Capitol reporter. And there has been lots of news coming out today in Jefferson City. Emily, thank you for being with us this afternoon. How are you?
I'm good. It's been a busy day, and it's only Tuesday. That's what I keep reminding myself.
It is only Tuesday, and we hear about the ruling today. A federal judge says that the Second Amendment Preservation Act, which invalidates all the federal gun laws, that is now unconstitutional. This was passed back in 2021. Where do we stand now?
Yeah, I actually had to go back and look at my own notes of when this was even heard in front of a judge. And because I couldn't even remember, it actually was heard last year at the same time. And now what this means is that it's pretty much invalid. Let's go ahead and explain what the Second Amendment Preservation Act is, better known as SAFA. It would pretty much invalidate any federal gun laws here in the state of Missouri. So if, in Congress, they decided to pass legislation that would ban ghost guns or maybe put a red flag law in place, Missouri would pretty much null and void all of that. There also was a provision in there that would allow people to fine police departments up to $50,000 if they had their Second Amendment right pretty much infringed upon, meaning that if that police officer maybe took away a gun, they could pretty much sue the police department. Today, that federal judge came out and said, wait a second, that this is invalid. This is against constitutional rights. In the 24-page opinion, the U.S. district judge said that SEPA, and this is his exact quote in the ruling, this violates the supremacy clause of the U.S. Constitution, a doctrine which holds that federal law takes priority over conflicting state laws. So that was in the ruling this morning. Pretty surprising. It's, like I said, it's been a year since this was in front of a judge.
And what's so interesting is a lot of the same people who are in favor of the Second Amendment Preservation Act, they also, it's ostensibly are pro-law enforcement and pro-police. And it's like when you take certain rights to an extreme like the Second Amendment, this act actually made it, as you mentioned, much more confusing for law enforcement. It really inhibited their ability to do their jobs, and not only made it confusing, but tagged serious consequences on them if they happen to make the wrong decision in a split second in a volatile moment.
Exactly. Law enforcement agencies have previously spoke out in opposition of this measure, saying it puts them at risk to work with federal authorities. So if somebody has been flagged maybe in another state, or even if they've been flagged in the state of Missouri for maybe they shouldn't have a gun, it prohibits those police officers, that law enforcement, from going and maybe taking the right measures to make sure that that person doesn't have a firearm in place. So it is going to be interesting what happens next, because literally in my inbox about 10 minutes ago dropped the statement from the Attorney General saying that he plans to appeal this decision, and saying that, you know, if the state legislator wants to expand upon these rights in the Second Amendment, they have the authority to do that. So it'll be interesting what happens moving forward. Just a little reminder that this law passed the General Assembly back in 2021. So it went in effect in August. And so pretty much we're coming up on year 2 of this law being in effect. But now, as of today, it's unconstitutional.
So if that appeal goes through, what sort of timeline are we looking at here?
That is, I feel like that's the $1 million question, because I was actually talking in the state capitol last week with some people about how long, ironically enough, we were talking about how long we were surprised that this ruling came out. So this appeal, you know, unless they expedite it, which I don't see the courts maybe allowing, because this is a law that I would hate to say not hindering someone's rights at the moment. This is something that, you know, federally they might look at, okay, well, why are we making an expedited case on this? There's plenty of other cases we need to hear before this. So I would say that the timeline is the $1 million question. We could be waiting a whole nother year for the appeal to come out and a decision to be made.
And the fact that certain police chiefs or police departments have had to cut ties with federal task forces, whether those are, you know, with gangs or drugs, whatever it may be, that's a huge deal, because you could have a homicide in your city or along a highway, and a local police officer will be hesitant or may not at all share any of that information if they're going after someone with a gun in a car, to know if that person is related to the homicide or 6 other shootings or incidents that have happened that the federal task force is working on. It effectively ends cooperation.
Yeah, I have to agree that there's so many police departments, and it doesn't matter if there's the city of St. Louis, the city of Kansas City, or even our rural areas. Some sheriff departments in Southwest Missouri have come out saying this is hindering us. This affects us, and we're not really sure how we can move forward without maybe being sued and losing thousands upon thousands of dollars. So it'll be really interesting moving forward how this appeal plays out. But as of today, that law is unconstitutional in the state.
Well, the Attorney General can't say he's serious about fixing crime in St. Louis and then do stuff like this. So it seems very disingenuous to me. Let's move on to the state of Missouri. The other news we get yesterday is that the House did pass, and this is really the I guess the second big hurdle now. It has to go through the Senate and then to Governor Parson to sign, but the state taking over the St. Louis Police Department for the first time in over a decade. What's it been like there in the aftermath of all of this, even though this is very popular, at least in terms of the legislators in Missouri?
I have to say something that, from my point of view, I find really interesting is the Democratic caucus in the House. And that some lawmakers that live in the city. For example, I'll talk about two lawmakers that spoke in favor of putting the St. Louis City Police Department under state control. And that is Representative Donna Behringer and Representative Steve Butt, both of them Democrats from the city of St. Louis, voting in favor of this legislation to put the department back under state control. And as you said, Chris, the last time that was happening here in the state was in 2012. And then voters approved to move it to local control under the mayor's office. So there is this big divide when it comes to the Democratic caucus, because there are people also from the north side of the city that say, no, we need to stay local control. And there's also people in the county that are Democrats that saying, no, it needs to stay local control. So it's just an interesting dynamic here in the State House regarding this legislation. And let me kind of explain for the listeners what this means. It would put the city of St. Louis's police department they would be overseen by kind of a state board of police commissioners. There'd be 5 members on that board, including the mayor. If you go across the state to the other side, this is actually something that's already in place in Kansas City. This is something that they've had for almost a century now. Hard to believe. It happened in 1930 that Kansas City went under state control, and it's one of the only departments in the entire country. I previously spoke to Mayor Quinton Lucas, who is the mayor of Kansas City, and I did a story with him back in December because I knew that this was going to be a topic of conversation in the State House during session, and he said this does not make our city any safer. So he's against it, and he said that he was going to talk to St. Louis Mayor Tishaura Jones about this topic, saying this is not good. This is not something that is going to help your city. So I do have to say, this passes the House, and it's just so interesting to see how it's actually hindering more on the Democratic side than it is Republicans. Almost all Republicans voted in favor of it yesterday when they took this vote. But the Democrats, it kind of it depends on where you were living, or what your district wanted on if you were going to vote in favor or against it. That was a long answer to your question. Sorry, Chris.
No, that's okay. We're here for information, however long it takes.
Now, as far as if it passes and that board, that 5-person board, one of them being Tishaura Jones, do we know anything about who the 4 governor appointees might be, or is that something that's too far down the road?
I will say it's a little bit too far down the road to know who exactly they are. I will say that the sponsors of the legislation made it pretty clear throughout the debate that they will be from the St. Louis area. That doesn't necessarily mean they're from the city exactly. They could be from the surrounding area, but they said, we're not going to get someone from Jefferson City. We're not going to get someone from Kansas City that sits on this police board. So at the moment, it's too far down the road, I think, until this makes it to the governor's desk, if it does by the middle of May. But the governor and even the sponsors of the legislation are under the impression of, if this passes, those board members will be coming from St. Louis.
The final iteration of this bill that passed the House, did it change at all in the past few days? I know there were some representatives who were for it, or at least one who was for it last week, that actually voted no when it came time to vote for it or against it. Did it change much in the past week or so?
I don't think that the numbers, I'm trying to remember how they ended up perfecting the bill last week, which means that they get it ready and add amendments on. There's not anything super big. I do know that there was a county Democrat, Representative Ian Mackey, who last week voted in favor of it. This week, he voted against it. But other than that, I can't think of anything big. I do want to mention something that is important, and that is that in this legislation, there is a pay raise for new officers, and that pay raise is actually $3,000 more than what the police union and the city announced last week. So just for example, it's supposed to be $7,000 now under this law, and that would be paid for by the city, where last week they came out and said, okay, we'll increase it by $4,000. The police union and the city said that. Well, this increases it by another $3,000, making sure that starting pay for officers would increase by $7,000. So I would have to say that did change in the past week. They changed that with an amendment on the floor. So there is a bigger increase for officers coming through this bill if the governor signs it.
Now, what again? I know that August 28th is the target date, that if everything happens in order that this will take effect. The Senate votes when on this?
The Senate, so here's what we still have to do. Now that this passes the House, it now has to be heard in a Senate committee. So I say we're weeks away from even debate. Of course, next week, lawmakers are on spring break. They have the week off, so there's nobody even going to be here inside the Capitol building. It'll be like a ghost town for about the next week. But I know this is something that has been discussed as well in the Senate. I'm sure they're going to take it up in a Senate committee. So the timeline is this bill that passed the House now has to go through a Senate committee hearing. They'll go through that committee hearing. And if it passes out of that committee, it will go to the floor for debate and a vote. So I say that we're still a couple weeks away from even possible debate in the Senate, especially with lawmakers having off next week for spring break.
Emily Manley, thank you for your time once again. We appreciate it.
Of course. Of course. Thank you.
That is Emily Manley, Fox 2 News Capitol reporter, again, with the wonderful information. And by the way, one of the measures that I think we look at when it comes to just how bad the crime is here, we know that St. Louis is number one in terms of murder rate. So we're talking per 100,000 people. That number's up over 65 murders per 100,000, which is a lot of murders. I also want to point out that Kansas City, which is under state control, and I think it's something to keep in mind here, is 8th. They are 8th worst in the country. Now, they have half the amount of murders in terms of rate than we have. I think we're exceptionally bad, but I mean, would you take that and make the argument that it's going well in Kansas City? We tend to talk about only St. Louis in terms of violent crime, but we never talk about the other cities. And Springfield is up there as well. They have their difficulties too.
Well, I mean, I guess there's two ways to look at this. I would need to know what was Kansas City before, because if you said the state takeover would result in cutting the homicide rate in half so that you're only the 8th most dangerous city, I'd take it. Cutting the homicide rate in half.
But again, we're talking that law for them, for Kansas City, has been going back to the 1800s.
Yeah.
So, or 1930s, I'm sorry.
Right.
So they've been under state control for a long time. And of course, the environment in the 30s is different than it is now. Amy Marks Coors, Chris Ranji. We will come back and wrap things up before the Glover Show at 1 o'clock on KMOX.
Well, for over 50 years, STL Fence Works has been locally owned and operated, family owned and operated, and committed to quality, service, and affordability. That's why they are the go-to authority for fence, deck, and leisure space projects. And when I say the go-to authority, I mean the number one in the state of Missouri. Now, they've been able to use their status as the number one fence and deck contractor in the state of Missouri to continue to pass savings on to you and to make sure that they have supplies and materials on hand. Specifically, they've made deeply discounted winter buys on vinyl fencing and aluminum fencing so they can pass the savings on to consumers. I'm talking pre-pandemic costs. So that's some pretty big savings. Also, they have more fence and decking material on hand, ready to go, than they've had at any other time in their 50-year history. Over 50 years, actually. I don't know any other company that can say that. They've got all of this supply ready to go. So when you get a deck built to beautify your outdoor space, to barbecue, have parties in the nicer weather because it's just around the corner, well, there's not going to be a long lead in time. They've got the materials, they've got the craftsmen, and they have their lifetime warranty that surpasses anything else in the industry. STLFenceworks.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertisements.
At Underlaw, we're looking for brave clients who've been injured and are ready to stand beside us in our fight to improve the safety of our community.
Call Underlaw Personal Injury Lawyers at 314 or 618-900,000.
Come see Tootsie, the funniest Broadway musical in years. This Tony Award-winning comedy musical tells the story of Michael Dorsey, an out-of-work actor who is learning that what doesn't kill you today will definitely try again tomorrow. The Hollywood Reporter says it's a madly entertaining riot, and Rolling Stone calls it musical comedy heaven. Don't miss Tootsie.
Coming to the Fabulous Fox, March 21st through April 2nd in the U.S. Bank Broadway series. Tickets at metrotix.com.
Your retirement plan was solid. You'd sell your home and use all that hard-earned equity to live your dream. No one saw inflation hitting a 40-year high or the housing bubble that could crater your home's value. So what do? You can put your retirement plans on hold indefinitely or hope to sell your home before its value crashes and then find a new place to live. What if your best move is no move at all? Truehold will buy your home today before values plunge. But here's what makes Truehold unique. You can keep living in your home, paying a comfortable rent. The cash is yours now for travel, retirement, invest it, pay off your bills, anything. Truehold even covers property taxes, insurance, repairs, and maintenance. Truehold is the simple, easy solution to unlock financial freedom without having to move and disrupt your life. Discover how much Truehold will give you now for your home while its value is high. Call 1-855-300-9993, 855-300-9993, or visit Truehold.com.
To understand what makes Diamonds Direct so different than other jewelry stores, you have to go back 60 years, when a diamond cutter in Israel became well known for his exceptional craftsmanship. His diamond cutting business flourished for decades. Then his sons got involved and started selling these exceptional diamonds to upscale jewelry stores here in America. Then, after a few years, these wholesalers changed the game and started selling these precious diamonds direct to the public at the same prices they had sold to the jewelry stores. The no middleman concept became an instant success, and Diamonds Direct was born. Today, Diamonds Direct provides that extraordinary value to people all over America, leading the industry with the highest quality diamonds that still come straight from the best cutters, offered at the guaranteed best prices, period. Diamonds Direct, a truly revolutionary concept with a unique history rooted in quality, committed to excellence, and always focused on value. Diamonds Direct, your love, our passion. DiamondsDirect.com.
Track your blood donations right from the palm of your hand and stay updated on special promotions. Download the American Red Cross Blood Donor app today. To learn more, go to redcross.org.
Chris Ranji.
Wonderful bones, great eyes, and you dress really interesting.
On the show.
We love your text messages and phone calls, 314-436-7900. And you can get at us whenever you want on the voicemail line at 314-944-1120. Amy's idea of being launched into space after she dies seems to pick up some traction because I think there are a lot of people who think, wow, that's a great idea.
Space
Maybe
burials.
that should be for me.
Space burials. My company's name is Space Corps.
Yeah. And the
Dead
real
on
company
arrival.
is called what?
Celestis.
Celestis.
Boring.
This texter says, Bellefontaine Cemetery will bury you in their meadow with just a shroud. So I guess you could be part of the plant life. You know, you'll decompose and, you
Isn't
return to
it
the
hard to get into that cemetery? Don't you have to be famous or something? Why did I
I don't
think
know,
that
but
was
it's
a
really
famous...
hard to get out once you're in. I know that.
That's true.
From a 217, Amy, your Space Corps idea is just as great as the idea of bottled water for dogs.
Wow. I guess that guy really loves his dog, right?
I mean, shouldn't you be kind to your dog? Give it bottled
I
water.
feel like those are two opposite things. Bottled
I don't
water
know.
for your dogs is not very green. Space Corps, it's green.
Mary Lynn texts in and says, there's already enough space junk.
Well, I think that I'm cremated first. It'd be space dust. We are
You would
Starlight.
be space dust, yes.
Yeah.
I would like to be, as I said, launched into the sun.
Yes, you would.
It's a
okay.
thing we say about people who we don't like. We say, launch this guy into the sun. Do it to me. That's what I want.
I will say with the space burials, beyond burials from Earth to space in 6 easy steps, theirs was slightly different because they have little containers with prepaid shipping, which you send back and then they launch you into space. My idea was more of you take the corpse, the body, strap it to a rocket and just shoot it into space. I was not, because cremation's not very green, I don't think. I think it takes a lot of fuel or something. I don't know. Yeah.
We have a texter from a 314 who says maybe we should launch Bob Hyland into space to stop him from turning over in his grave. Bob Hyland is rolling in his grave listening to this show. Well, not anymore because he's in space. Do you think Bob Hyland is in his grave like, stop bringing me up? Stop talking about me.
Or Bob Hyland, because like you need to rest in peace. This guy's been rolling over for decades now, it feels
Well,
like.
it's Amy Markscore's fault. Just for being a socialist or whatever. Oh, no, wait, that's me.
Yeah, I'm
Sorry.
a communist.
All right, anything you missed on the Odyssey app, go back and listen to it. It's all great stuff, we promise. And the 1 o'clock hour with Dave Glover is next. Amy and I are still going to be here next on KMOX.
Just go ahead and witness diamonds in his pockets.
Hi, this is Brian with Velocity Home Buyers, and I buy houses cash. If you own a house and want to sell it fast at a fair price,